Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL Ailson expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, oh, you got your mic hooked up. Okay, it sounded like, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe you got to hook
Stop critiquing everything I do all the time.
I guess that's what
Worry
the show
about yourself. Believe me, you got more than enough to keep you busy on that front.
with us here also, special guest, friend of the show, Coach Tommy Baffi. How are you doing, Coach Tommy Baffi? Coach Tommy,
doing the best I can here in New York. Things are a little rough here right now with the all air quality, but got the windows shut and everything, keeping the air good in the condo, and ready to go tonight. Glad to be here with both you gentlemen to talk some Islanders hockey.
Now, what's going on with the air quality? It's bad up there, right? From what I've seen.
Yeah, well, we have all the
baseball games, right?
Yeah, I think Canada's a little mad at us because they haven't won a Stanley Cup in like 30 years. So they sent down all this smoke from up in Canada, down from like Quebec, and we got the wildfires going on. And our air quality right now, where I live in Long Beach, is actually over 300. Oof, that's the index. So you go outside, your eyes burn, your lungs burn, your throats burn. You got to actually wear a mask. You have to. It's so bad.
Let me ask you something. Does that explain Lou Lamoriello's recent press conference? Was the air quality just really bad over there, and that's what caused him to have some of the answers and responses that he did?
Well, I think we watched a very repetitive press conference.
Oh, yes. We're going to, and for today's podcast, for those of you who don't know, the wait is finally over. Lou Lamoriello addressed the public, guys. Look at this. Woo! There it is, Grumpy. There's your favorite one on the soundboard, the little round.
It's the only button you know how to touch.
Oh, but I tell you, Lou Lamoriello finally addressed the public. We're going to break that down. We're going to listen to it with you guys. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk a little about the Islanders. We've got a 9-minute clip, the one that the Islanders Twitter page put out there. It was about a 39-minute long press conference with the media and the press. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the offseason, the fantastic, fun, exciting things that are around the corner. We're going to talk about that. But before we get the show started, this is a twice a week All Islanders podcast that takes place every single Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, I'm running late today, as occasionally I do. I know, what a shock. But there will be no show this Saturday. No show this Saturday, unfortunately, for the Islanders Never Said Die podcast. I will be in transit. There will be no show this Saturday. But if you're new to the channel, it's usually every single Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you like on Facebook and follow on Twitter. Also, if you like the content we put out, right? If you're like, you know what? Maybe they've got a few points that resonate with me. Make sure to like the video because apparently that helps the algorithm. Also, we have a secondary podcast called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That's an all sports podcast. We just shoot the shit. Myself, Grumpy, and the Magnificent Sun X just shoot the shit, talk anything and everything sports. We talk hockey, NBA, MLB, NFL, college athletics, world football, soccer, any type of sport, you name it, we talk about it. It's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. You could find that in the link in the description below or as a featured page here on our YouTube channel. And before we start jumping in, talking a little Islanders, now that almost all the housekeeping's out of the way, Coach Tommy B, I know we're in the offseason, but what times can we catch Coach Baffi's Corner? Where can we find Coach Baffi's Corner? Where can we find? I need to know. The listeners of the show need to know.
Oh, first off, you can find Coach Baffi's Corner on Facebook Live with the Drive for 5 group, my personal page, and I share it to many of the wonderful groups you all are in, like Islanders Misery or Misery Boys. Proud to be Islanders fan, all things Islanders, all great groups like that, Worldwide Islanders group. So I share it in there. Most of the time, I do the show on Monday night. During the off season, I'm a little more varied when I do it because obviously there's less information. I am going to do a show next Thursday night. Will be my 21st edition of the season. Ooh. So that'll be next Thursday. I do it. I'll be doing it from about 7 to 8:30, and I'll be covering the Stanley Cup Finals and, of course, the amazing press conference we just watched from Lou and what our roster is going to look like, which is probably going to be almost the exact same thing when we start the 2023-2024 season. But more excited actually to be here with you gentlemen tonight.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited too. Grumpy. Now, Grumpy, I want to ask you first, Grumpy. Lou
Yeah.
Lamoriello came out and spoke, and we were waiting for him to speak. What do you think about Lou Lamoriello's press conference? Initial thoughts.
I hate him.
Why
I
do you
hate him.
No, Grumpy. Maybe you're being a little harsh. Maybe
I
you
hate
just
him.
dislike Lou
I
Lamoriello.
hate him. I hate
Maybe
him.
just a little bit of dislike, Grumpy.
He disgusts me. I actually said, as I was listening to it, I'm like, my God, I hate this guy. I said that to myself. I'm like, and the warden goes, what are you talking about in there? Who do you hate? I said, the stupid old Beaky the Buzzard who just is ruining the franchise, just ruining it.
Oh, man.
You know what? Any fan could run the team the way he's run it. Anyone. We don't make any moves. We just sign everybody back, give them whatever they want. Full no trade. I don't care. You're a fourth liner. Full no trade for the length of your contract.
Not
honestly,
all the time,
he does nothing to make the team better. Nothing. And what did he say? We're gonna break it down.
Sure.
Long story short, get ready for the same outfit you saw at the end is going to be next year's team. So this will be what? How many years in a row without any offseason moves? Five. Drive for 5 off seasons without doing anything in the offseason. Nothing.
We traded for Alexander Romanov last year, Grumpy, and gave up our first
How'd that turn out for you?
Fantastic. The first offseason, we went ahead and signed Robin Leonard, who actually wound up being, again, like we forgot him off the list.
This is the 5th offseason. This is his 6th offseason.
Robin Leonard was not some big free agent signing.
Sure.
We took him off the scrap heap.
The pressed asset.
Okay. And by the way, give him credit for finding the guy.
Yeah.
Okay. It worked. They turned him around. And I was happy to say it's the one individual they actually worked with and cared for and turned his life around, because they sure as heck didn't do it for a guy like Hosang, who they crapped on, or Bodie Wild or Kiefer Bellows. But outside of that, it was a great find, and he was great with the fans. Leonard was awesome when he was here, but they had their plan. They never, ever had any intentions of Robin Leonard being the Islanders goalie for more than one season.
Yep.
They knew what their plan. I don't disagree with the plan to get Sorokin here. That should have been the plan. I agree with it.
Sure.
But, Leonard was not some big free agent signing. Nobody wanted him.
He was the pressed asset.
Yeah. He was the guy who struggled.
That's what he was.
Yeah. He was struggling not only on the ice, he was struggling in personal life. And the Islanders took a gamble and a risk on him, and they found a diamond in the rough that was really able to perform at an elite level. I mean, but for the most part, in the offseason, we remain relatively quiet, the Islanders do. That's kind of what we've seen over the last few years. We'll make a move occasionally here or there, but for the most part, it's status quo. Re-sign back the same guys. All of the off-season moves that we made were actually made at the trade deadline. I always like when
those are not off-season moves; they're in-season moves.
In season,
yes,
that's in season.
Sure. And I will say this all day, every day. If you want to build a Stanley Cup champion, you have to use all 3 ways to get players. You must have a draft. You must use free agency, where you don't give up assets, and then properly use the trade deadline. If you're only using the trade deadline to acquire players, and that's basically what they're doing now, you will sink your organization.
There you go. Pretty accurate. So let's break that down. Do we utilize the draft properly? Nope. And why not? Why not? We keep on trading our picks. Do we make good trades to acquire players, or do we usually vastly overpay? I say we overpay every single time. That's fair. Sure. When we do move an asset like a Devon Taves, 24, 25-year-old puck-moving defenseman, you get less than you should for certain 2 second-round picks. And once again, when you go into the draft, well, hey, we got ourselves a second-round pick this year. Don't worry, we're going to move him for a veteran in a year or 2. And I'm not saying Ratu was the be-all, end-all, but he was the best prospect we had on this or in this organization. That much I'll say.
Sure, best forward prospect, I'd say. Yeah, and I don't disagree.
Best prospect, period.
He's best prospect in the system, and we gave up a first-round pick in the best draft in 2 decades.
Just dumb to acquire a guy that we wildly overpaid for to re-sign.
That's my problem with it. I like
hometown discount.
I like Bo Horvat, but if I'm going to make this trade on January 29th, and I'm coming to you to make this trade, and first off, Vancouver's like, well, you can't talk to our player. Bullcrap. I'm not even talking to you until I can speak to the agent to know what it's going to cost for me to sign this guy. And if he's not willing to take a discount from me, because I gave him the same money I would have given him in free agency. If he's not taking a discount from me, I'm not giving up my assets for you. If you want to be an Islander so badly, I'll give you that money in free agency, but I don't give up the first round pick in Ratson.
Yeah, sure.
That's how you deal.
He didn't want to be an Islander. Here's the thing. I don't think he cared where he went as long as he got 8 years and the money that he got.
Sure.
Here's the thing. You didn't even wait to get the free agent. I don't think he even cared. He signed that contract, within a week from being here? He didn't know the area. He knew nothing, right? He struggled because, the transition was so tough. The family wasn't here. Well, so you just signed that deal without having your family here to see if they liked it? Stop.
Yeah,
He's about the money. And his thing, I don't blame him.
That's fine.
I have no problem. And I like Bo Horvat too. But please don't tell me that he took a discount or, he would have he probably would have signed. Whoever was going to give him the contract that he wanted, he was going to go.
If Arizona was giving him an 8-year by $8.5 million, hey, I'm a big old Coyote fan. Mullet Arena.
Maybe not there, but I think most places. Look, my problem too is that fans can be a little blind. I have 2 red flags on Horvat. I think he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not knocking him down, but I don't think he's a star. I think he's a very good player. I have 2 red flags. One red flag to me is Vancouver did not offer him anywhere near close to what we offered him. No. And he's been the captain and been there. So that's a red flag to me. And it's not like Vancouver was making the playoffs very often. They weren't. And my other red flag is his walk year. We've all seen this in sports. He puts up these amazing numbers on his walk contract year. And then people are like, well, that's what he's going to do. No. That, by the way, bothers me. And that tells me you weren't putting in the proper effort the years prior.
Yeah.
How many players do we see put their best performance of their careers in their walk year?
Absolutely.
And I remember the Vancouver's general manager at the time said, well, you know what? We're offering a contract based on what he's done previously. It's nowhere near worth what he'll get with how he's performing this year. And Lou Lamoriello said, screw it. Give him whatever he wants. You want 8 years? You want $8.5 million? Yeah, you're probably a $7 million a year player, maybe. But you know what? We'll give you 8.5 to get you to stay. And then what did we find out? What did we find out about Bo Horvat? He needs someone to create for him.
Oh, yes. In the offensive zone, there's a difference between the 2 players I'm going to make it the comparison to. Because Bo Horvat's a solid defensive center. He's one of the best face-off guys in the league. But in the offensive zone, do you know who he is?
He's Anders Lee.
Absolutely.
But he's a better Anders Lee because at least he'll move a little bit from the crease.
Do you remember when I told you that? Bo Horvat's like Anders Lee. I said that it's like Anders Lee 2.0. Yeah, don't worry, I did.
Well, you said with the contract. And here's the thing, that is going to be an ugly contract at the end. But
$7 million a year for Bo Horvat wouldn't actually be that. It wouldn't be that unpalatable. If you were on a 7x7 contract, I wouldn't be upset with that on a guy like Bo Horvat. I wouldn't. But the fact that it's 8x8.5, I go, oh, great. There's an extra $1.5 million and an extra year on that contract. I go, oof. It's just, I don't think he's going to age well, and I'm not sure it's worth it.
You know what irks me about that right now is that information that's out the last 2 days that the Brinkat is now out for trade. And if we had those assets available and the money available, would you rather have him or Bo Horvat?
Yeah, right. Hey, if we waited till the offseason, maybe we didn't make all of our deals at the trade deadline. Maybe we waited for the pitcher to open up when teams are able to make moves in the offseason, like Provorov on the way out, like players like that on the way out. Maybe we could have got a guy like the Brinkat, absolutely, for the assets we gave up instead of Bo Horvat. Wouldn't that be a nice fit? The Brinkat and Matt Barzal, wouldn't that be a nice fit?
Beautiful fit.
I think Lou is like the school system. He kind of just takes off in June and then just takes the rest of the summer off and then comes back when school starts up.
School's out for summer.
He's like the school superintendent, just takes off.
I do want to put this up here. The video of Lou Lamoriello. This is the meat and potatoes I think people want to hear. This is what we've been waiting here for a while. I want to make sure it's loud enough for everybody to hear. And Grumpy, if it's not loud enough, I'm gonna flip back, Grumpy. It's gonna take me a delay, okay? You're gonna have to be cautious and patient with me, all right, Grumpy? But I'm gonna do my best to try to stop it.
When I stick my finger up, make sure you stop.
You understand you're on 2 separate screens, you're 2 separate windows, so it's gonna take me a second to lag over and do this, but be patient.
To start off, Can you sort of explain why, this is happening today instead of, on breakup day?
Well, I didn't think it was necessary, and I had a lot of questions.
Why is it not necessary to talk to your fan base? Why do you feel it's not necessary to talk to the fan base?
They're just a paying public. That's all.
I got a question. Why did it take you 7 weeks to ask these questions? And who were you asking these questions to? That'd be my first question to him.
That's what he talks about too next. He's like, I had to ask a lot of questions.
We didn't get there yet. We didn't even get there yet.
But he didn't feel it was necessary. I didn't feel it was necessary.
It's not necessary to talk to your paying customers. Not necessary.
I don't feel it's necessary to ever travel to UBS to watch a product under Lou Lamoriello.
If Lou Lamoriello identified as a woman, he'd be Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake.
Well,
in fairness, head off.
In fairness, I got to watch him do a Islanders meet and greet at the end of the prior season, and I wouldn't let him sell anything. I'm telling you how bad he was at the meet and greet with the fan base. He basically called us all peasants. If you do that and you think you're going to sell to them, you're out of your mind. That's why they didn't put him out in a meet and greet this year. They know this guy is not a salesperson. We cannot put him out there and he'll make the fans feel all comfortable and loved. It's not how he operates.
You want to know what else he's not? A winning general manager.
Okay, let's hold on. This is a long clip, Grumpy, so we're gonna have to try to keep some of these to minimum.
It should take us right to our.
Wanted to get in.
All righty, Grumpy. Well, when I hit play,
it should take us right to our. It should take us right to our ad read by the time we get done with this.
All righty, Grumpy.
This is happening today instead of, on breakup day.
Well, I didn't think it was necessary, and I had a lot of questions that I wanted to get answered and wanted to get right at it. And quite frankly, my focus wasn't on answering questions. It was more asking a lot of questions and getting answers to questions.
Grumpy, I'll wait until he finishes a statement to cut
No,
him
I don't
off.
want him to finish because there's so much to unpack. Every time this guy, every word out of his mouth is a mistake.
How is that?
Every word, every single word out of his mouth is a mistake. Get right down to it. What have you done so far? What have you done so far?
You had to ask questions. You had to ask questions.
Okay. I've never, ever in my life watched a professional press conference at the end of the season and heard that response. That I haven't spoken to you in almost 2 months because I had to go ask questions. You run the organization.
That's my point too. What type of questions were you asking for 2 months? You're the head of the organization, and it took you 2 months to come up with some answers to the multiple questions you have.
Here's the thing. What type of questions is he asking? He should already know how much the parameters of deals to sign guys back are. He should already know that. I mean, what does he do the rest of the season? Sit there with his thumb up his butt? He should know what every single player is looking for. He should be in contact with every single agent. This is what we're looking for. This is what we're looking for. Can you make it work? He should know that. He should know that before he goes into the offseason.
Gotcha.
I mean, what was his question? Was he going to the NHL and the owners asking if they can push the games up to 6 o'clock so we can go to bed earlier at night?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I guess, have you gotten those answers yet? Or
I will continue to have more questions, but I'm here to answer any questions you might have and certainly answer them the best way I can.
So hold on. So the premise of today was to answer any questions that you may have to the best that I can. So let's see. We're going to keep that motto.
So in other words,
questions that the media and the public has the best I can. Grumpy, calm down, Grumpy, calm down.
No, here's the thing. If he was really being honest, he says, I'm just coming out here to tolerate you because my bosses told me to come out here because people like TJ and the grumpy old man have been raking your ass over the coals for the last month and a half. So we're going to send you out here. And he says, that's the only reason I'm here. And you want to know something? I'm not going to answer any of your questions. I will throw you a little double talk and swim around this, but I won't say anything. Here's the thing I know we should have said. We're not acquiring anyone from outside the organization in the offseason.
Okay, well, Grumpy, you're going to have a chance to address that when he talks about these things, man. You're scattering all over the place.
I mean, just to confirm, are you expecting to be back as president and general manager next season, and is Lane going to be back?
As I said, the last time, and I don't know why these are such difficult questions when
You don't
we
answer
are.
them.
Okay.
These questions continue to be asked.
Listen.
No.
You cannot speak like that when I have the freaking. You just blew off about half of our listeners' ears because you just yelled when I went ahead and maxed out the level to put on this. You have got to keep quiet until I hit the pause button, please. For the love of God, we don't want people going to the hospital blowing eardrums out, Grump.
Okay, fine. You want to know why they continue to ask you those questions? Because you never ever answer them. Even the softies like Andrew Gross, even he is asking those questions now. How bad is it when the mainstream media is asking the questions that everyone else in the free world has been asking forever? Think about how bad it's got to be.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can hear a whole response that he has, because
Probably
it kind of takes away from the vigor that he has in the freaking in the snide remarks that he makes when you ask me to pause midway through, Grumpy. So let's listen to his response here. Let's try to give him a chance to respond to every these, and then we'll respond back, Grumpy.
To confirm, are you expecting to be back as president and general manager next season, and is Lane going to be back?
As I said, the last time, and I don't know why these are such difficult questions when we are here. And as far as contractual situations, I think they're all personal. We're both under contract, have been, and will be. And I think that's all that's necessary.
Like I said, just for the record there.
Well, it's an interesting record. The only contracts that are necessary to go public are player contracts.
What what do you think about that, Coach Tommy B? I know
What's that? Okay, Lou. For fans of sports, I don't even need to have to know your actual dollar amount, but most teams let their fans know how long the term of their coaches and general managers contracts are.
Yes.
And it's by the way, it's proper for us to know, because when making our season ticket decisions, sometimes it's based on a general manager, like the Garth Snow billboards, if you all remember, to get Garth out of here. Okay, so we do have the right to know that. You don't want to tell me what you're making? I don't care.
Sure.
It's not on my salary.
Nobody asked him. Gross didn't ask him how much he was making. Are you still going to be here next year?
Yes.
That's not asking. That's not personal. Are you going to be here in that luxury box all by yourself because no one wants to be with you? I mean, is that the way it is? Or are you going to be gone? Is Lane Lambert going to be gone? I don't care if you're under contract. That doesn't mean you're going to be with the team, because they'll still pay you off.
Well, no, his contract had expired this season, so they brought him back with an extension. He's still under contract. He will be under contract still, and nothing is changing in that regard. So I do like how smug of a response that is. Like, how dare you ask me the question if I'm coming back as a general manager? Well, man, after 2 disappointing seasons in a row, you see that some coaches and general managers get fired the day after they get booted from the postseason or don't make the postseason. We hadn't heard from the team and the organization because, well, I didn't feel it was necessary to come out there and address the fans or the public. So that's why we're just getting around to this. I don't know, almost 5 weeks after the season ended for us. But let's continue along listening here to Lou Lamoriello.
You look at it differently now about building the next season? Will that impact your decision at all? How far you are?
Well, I believe in this team. It's obvious. I believed in it coming into the season, and I still do. To say that there's any discouragement, no. Disappointment at the way we played in that playoff series, as far as it could have gone either way.
Okay, let's stop there real quickly, because this is one we need to break down a few times. Hey, he still believes in the team.
Are you shocked?
It's it's got to be GM speak, because if he says I'm not, that means he admits, right? I was talking to Stefan about this yesterday. Stefan Rosner, great beat writer. He said, well, him and saying that if he didn't believe in his team, well, it's him admitting that he's constructed things poorly and that he's had to put together a flawed team.
Of course. Absolutely.
That's the truth.
That gets you fired the next day.
Yep. It's the truth too.
Okay, fine. Just keep rolling.
But I think that in all respect to Carolina, I thought that, we hurt ourselves and beat ourselves in a way. You can't go through a playoff and have specialty teams have, the lack of success we did during that. Not apologizing for it. It's something that we have to correct. I think the bad news is that occurred. The good news, it's certainly something that can be corrected and will be corrected.
Stop.
I did. Every time he gets done,
Okay.
I will stop right before you.
Okay. With all respect to Carolina, Carolina's missing 3 of their top 6 forwards, playing a backup goalie. And here's the thing. You want to know why you couldn't score on a power play? Because your power play sucks. Because of the team you've put together, that power play sucked. Okay? It sucked all year, and it sucked against Carolina. He's trying to soft sell it like, hey, we beat ourselves. No, Carolina kicked your ass right off the freaking planet. That's what happened. Here's the thing. Carolina's beat you 16 out of 20 games. Can you ever beat Carolina? The answer is no. You want else who you couldn't have beat? You wouldn't have beat the Devils. You wouldn't have beat the Rangers. You wouldn't beat the Bruins. You wouldn't have beat the Florida Panthers. You wouldn't have beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. You're not beating anybody with this team. It's not freaking happening. The team is not good enough to contend for a Stanley Cup. Period. End of sentence, end of story. Don't try to minimize. Stop making excuses for the failure of the team. Just stop. Well, with a bounce, you're bouncing. No. You know something? You were beat. And it was the backup goalie who let 3 goals going right through his body. Antti Ranta. As soon as they put their starter in, series over. That's what happened.
Coach Tommy B, I want to hear what your thoughts are.
All right. The players are who the players are. Except for a few of the young players who have room for improvement, most of these players are not going to get better. They are who they are. All right. Now, where I will say there could be some change is our specialty teams coaching is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. And Doug Hooter and McLean should not be brought back on this coaching staff. I actually like Lambert, and I give Lambert a thumbs up for the job he did under the circumstances and with the team he was given.
Sure.
But McLean's power play just wasn't grump. It wasn't just how the players on the team. When you have Bo Horvat and Anders Lee, who are the same player playing on the same goddamn unit, and you don't use the Ovechkin position with the proper person, like a Palmieri or a Wallstrom, who should be on that side, or a Pulak if you have to use a Pulak. Those are the players that can play that spot and fire away. You don't have guys in the right position. McLean was a disaster. We lost to Carolina because our power play and our penalty killing sucked, and because Sorokin didn't actually stand totally on his head.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't disagree. And here's the thing: like, people try to say, "Oh, well, it's because of they had to fire the guy. They hired the guy as the power play coach. They had to fire him because of the allegations." Well, that's the reason why we struggle. We have always been a pedestrian at best power play. I mean, like, is that what we're striving for? Is to be middle of the road on the power play? I don't know.
No movement. Everybody's in the wrong position on the power play. Almost everybody, and no movement. And if Matt Barzell's not out there is no power play. Because he's the only guy who moves around with the puck and tries to create. Everybody else stands flat-footed. The only guy that should be standing flat-footed is the guy on top of the goalie. Everybody else should be rotating and finding holes in lanes. That's the worst coaching job I've ever seen is our power play coach. Does he even show up to practice?
Nope. Bottom line is, Carolina is a team we can't beat because they're fast, we're old and slow. Period. I've been saying that for how many years now? Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Florida, all the teams that skate, all the teams that can skate and are aggressive on the forecheck, we can't beat. If it wasn't for Sorokin, we don't even sniff the playoffs this year. We don't even sniff them.
Sure. Let's hear more of Lou Lamoriello here.
Lou, how would
Kevin?
you evaluate the job that Lane and the staff did with the team this season?
I thought they did a very good job. I thought there was a lot of inconsistency in the year, which are the reason for raising some questions. We started off, I thought, reasonably well with the change and inserting. And then we went through that spell. I think it was around December 2nd that it happened. And I think that, our record was.
Really quickly, the reason I want to pause this, look at how specific he is with the exact date that this struggle was. Oh, we started our struggles at December 2nd. Knows the exact day, knows when it started. I'm gonna harp and point out a few lapses of detail that Lou Lamoriello forgets conveniently or goes ahead and manipulates here down the road too, but very detail oriented right now.
Okay, before we continue rolling, you know something? We started off good, then we had a slump. Well, you know what? Every team goes through peaks and valleys throughout a season. Sure. You don't win 2, lose 1, win 2. It's just not the way it goes. He knows it. He's been in the game for 495 years. He knows how it used to be in the 1920s. He knows. I mean, come on. He must think that everyone is just freaking stupid. That's what he must think, that we believe everything you say. All of my Lamanites believe in what I say. Lou and the Lamanites. Just stop. Just stop.
Something you don't feel good about. We lost, I think, 5 games in overtime or shootout. And I think that we were something like 16-6. If you look at it as far as the wins and losses, and then you add the shootouts, then you're 16-11.
Well, here we go. It's because we lost so many shootout games. That's why we struggled.
Remember early in the year when we were winning those games and we didn't lose? Oh, well, the big thing was we didn't lose any shootout games.
What?
None of them went to shootout.
Hold on. What are you talking
we won
about?
like
We
3
weren't getting the
overtime
loser
games.
point.
Yeah. We won like 3 overtime games early in the year and didn't get to the shootout. That's correct. Bro. We did.
But the good news is the recovery and the right after that stretch in the summer, in the middle of the season.
Summer.
I think we were 19-6 or 7 the end of the year. Of course, in that too, we had 3 overtime wins. So I want to be fair to both sides. We had 5 overtime losses, still with 5 points.
Who cares?
And we did have overtime.
Why in God's name?
Who cares? Who cares? I don't need a breakdown of the schedule. Breakdown of the schedule from you, Chief. I don't need you to tell me when you won and lost games. You know what? I could pull that up. I could pull that up right now on ESPN, and just all I got to do is count. I don't need you to give me a relay. I don't care that you won or lost games in overtime. Your goaltender is the only reason you're still employed. That's what you should say.
Wins.
That's what you should say.
And all of our overtime losses came during that middle spell of about 32 games.
So it's fair to say that fans can expect the full coaching staff to return for the start.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said that they did a reasonably good job.
He didn't say reasonably poor.
They will be back. As far as will there be changes, that's not something that I can assert to at this point.
He's got that like so secretive.
First off, I gotta say this right now. Again, the season was over. For us, like 7 weeks ago.
Sure.
I think the coaches should have been evaluated already, and whoever was being kicked off the staff should have been fired by now. Number one, because the earlier you do it, the better candidates you have to replace those people with.
Yep.
Not wait till the end of June. And if you're actually telling me that McLean and Huda did a good job, you're out of your mind, and you shouldn't be GM anymore.
Yep.
Out of your mind.
Yep, exactly, right? Isn't it crazy to think if you were going to move away from a power play coach, let's say, because you were unhappy with the performance, that maybe having a vacant spot open and people maybe inquiring about said spot might open up different avenues for people. Maybe you can interview and you can maybe get somebody who's extremely talented power play guy early instead of all the good coaches being picked up if you wait and try to be so secretive there, Lou.
TJ, is there a way later you can do a snapshot of what Lou looks like now and what he looked like 5 years ago and
Oof.
put them side by side?
There's a change.
Oh man, I'll grab them up. Don't
Oh,
worry.
I think he has changed, but I want the
It's changed.
picture to verify it.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll just. That's a nice picture for him to put it up there. Okay, we'll continue here.
You kind of hinted around the special teams. Is the power play fixable with what you have in house, or do you need to go out and get a specialist or add something to that unit?
Well, I think all you have to do is go to the power play the year before in the second half and the success that
16.
they had
The second
with the
half.
same individuals on it.
Was that Grumpy? I cannot hear when you both speak at the same time. Grumpy, remember? Let's try to wait. Let's try to wait. What I couldn't even hear a word he was saying because you're over there speaking over him, Grumpy. Come on.
The question was, do you think you need to go out and acquire somebody like a Svechnikov? Imagine how bad the series would have been if Carolina had Svechnikov. Islanders would have lost in 3. That's what would have happened. But so what does he say? No, we don't need that. We just know we need to go back to the power play the second half of the season before. You were 16th in the league, middle of the road. So what do you want to take? A 9-game sample? That's the power play we need. Just stop.
Get a specialist or add something to that unit.
Well, I think all you have to do is go to the power play the year before in the second half and the success that they had with the same individuals on it.
2 years old. 2 years
But,
older. now.
you know, you can always look for something better. You can always look to improve in every way whatsoever. And I know it's a cliche, but if you can find a way to get improvement in any area, you do that. But you don't, change for the sake of changing by just subtracting.
In your mind,
That was all of a nothing answer, by the way. I'm sure as we can all discern. You get a
I don't
few
know.
of those here.
Was, in my opinion, to some extent, was the Horvat trade for the sake of adding something?
That's a good point.
Because he honestly, if you listen to Lou, Horvat shouldn't even be on the power play next year. He shouldn't even be on the power play because we should need to go back to the power play, the same guys who were there 2 years ago.
Actually, that's correct, because Horvat wasn't on the team when we were having that success. By the way, and McLean wasn't the power play coach either when we were having that success. And not for nothing, Barzell was, healthy when we were having that success. So I think that statement makes no sense. Absolutely.
Just a whole bunch of GM speak. When I heard that, I'm like, oh, just trying
Here's
to
the thing.
not answer the questions.
I don't think we're going out on a limb saying the power play next year is going to be better than 31st in the league. I mean, let's be honest. We're probably going to be in the bottom third of the league in the power play because we're in the bottom third of the league in scoring every single year. The one aberration, the one discrete event was the power play 2 years ago when we were 16th. Other than that, we've been in the bottom third every single year under his tenure. Every single year. So that's where I expect us to be next year as well.
Unless they actually bring in the coach that actually puts people in the positions they belong in on the power play. That could change how our power play is. That could make us a much better power play. But as long as you continue to put these units together the way they compile them, and Horvat and Lee should be on separate power play units as the net front presence. Okay, you need to have a trigger man on each power play. I'm for Wallstrom on one, Palmieri on the other. You have to have your quarterback. You're going to probably have Dobson on one, and at this point, maybe it's Sebastian Aho on the other one. And then, of course, you're going to have Barzell and Nelson on your top unit. You're going to have Pajot center the second unit, and whatever other forwards you add to it. But they do not put these units together properly, and these guys are all out of position for where they could have their most success. So if we do bring a coach in that recognizes this, I think it changes it.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I don't disagree there that having a coach that could recognize those areas of improvement won't help. But
and how much does the roster have to change in time for next season? Do you
Don't
expect this
say
to be an active
Don't
offseason?
say
Do you
it.
expect most of these core players to be back here next season?
Well, right now, the focus certainly is on the free agents that we have, with our goaltender, and certainly defense.
Should we get his name?
And We have 2 free agent forwards, certainly priorities, but certainly understand their situations in what they want to do and what potentially might be available to them because of maybe cap situations or all of the above. But I believe in this core group.
Oh, there it is again. I believe in this core group. What
How
do we
many years-
focus on for the offseason? Re-signing back our free agents. That's the number one focus for us once again.
It's his go-to line.
Has no
I
choice.
believe in this core. He says it every freaking year. What have we won? Somebody says, Lou, you keep on saying you believe in this core every freaking year. What have we won? Have we ever won a division title? The answer is no. Have you won an Eastern Conference title? No. Have you won a Stanley Cup? No. Why do you believe so much in this core that has won nothing? Nothing.
Oh, man.
We know what the answer. By the way, Stefan is a fantastic writer. He's a great young man. I've met him.
Yeah.
By the way, I give him all the accolades of what he's done for himself too. Love the kid. He's awesome. He told you that. He can't admit that there's a failure going on. He can't do it. If he does that, then why would they keep him? It's his sales pitch isn't to the press, and it's not to you and me, and it's not to the fans. His sales pitch is to Malkin.
You know what?
That's who he's speaking to when he says that.
You want to know? He says, you know what? Malcolm say, dude, we're letting go of you because you're 81 years old. That's why we're cutting you loose. You're 81 years old. You can't do the job on a level that's necessary at this point in time. Here's the thing. You have to not even watching the team to say, I believe in this core, and to have anybody believe it. You might believe in it. Just the proof is in the pudding. Do we win anything? No. Sorry. Goodbye.
All right. Let's move along here.
Spitting all over the place.
I believe in our goaltending, certainly. And
Yes.
I think that sometimes we forget the 4 young core defensemen that we have in Pellick and Pollock as far as the age that they're at, 27 years old. And
No!
Uh-oh. Oopsies. Hold on. We got to call him on that one. Pellick and Kulak are not 27 years old.
They're 29. They're 29.
They're going to be, yes. They're 28 right now. They're going to be 29.
29 in August and 29 in October. They're not 27.
Our young defensive core who are
That's not
entering
young.
this upcoming season at 29 years old. I wouldn't call them young.
Hold on. I have to defend Lou here. Compared to him, they are young. But compared to defensemen around the league, they're not.
I would have called, if I'm in the press, I'm calling him on that, and then I'm going to ask him, just want to make sure you know how old you are. How old are you?
He stops counting at that age. They don't need to. I get up there so much.
They need the fire department come out when he has his birthday party. That's all I gotta say. Put out that forest fire that are candles on top of his cake.
Okay.
2 young players in Romanoff and Dobson at 22, 23.
Okay.
There we
They're
go.
both 23
They're born one day apart from each other. So
in January. They're both 23. They're not 22. They haven't been 22 for quite a while now. Since when things were going bad in December and January. They're 23. They're not 20. Stop trying to fudge it. Stop trying to fudge it. Yeah. We all know it's the oldest team in the league. Stop trying to fudge it.
The only reason we're nitpicking this so much is because we just heard not even 3 or 4 minutes before, Lou was so detail-oriented about our team started to struggle on this date of December 2nd. We had 36 games where we struggled, and we lost 6 of those in overtime, and we did this. And he's like breaking down everything to the freaking very, very tedious and detail-oriented. Congratulations, Lou. But can't even remember the age of the players on the team. I'm confused.
It's done on purpose. It's absolutely done on purpose. He knows what their ages are. By the way, he's not senile. I'm going to say that to everybody right now. He's not. He's actually pretty well with it up here. That's not the issue with him. But being straightforward and honest, that's not part of his game. However I can twist something to make it look a little better, to make my situation look a little better to the fans, that's how I'm going to do it.
Oh, there it is.
Maybe I forgot what I was going to say. Just move on.
Oh, it's okay, Grumpy. You're gonna have to do better. Grumpy, you got worse memory than Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. No. This is that. Thank you very much. Maybe the thing. Thanks for the trigger. Maybe what he was going to say before was like on a teleprompter for him to read off all those stats and the points. Maybe that was on a teleprompter. You know, some guys can sometimes read a teleprompter, but you take them off question, they can't do anything. They might trip and fall. Who the heck knows? So that's what I think happened. So maybe he forgot. Maybe he just forgot that was on the teleprompter, the age thing. So he forgot the ages.
Okay.
And that is a pretty solid core in that end of it. And our assets are in our defense. And then you go up front. I think that we're fortunate to have the 5 center icemen we have. When I say pure center icemen, certainly Matt Barzell was moved over to the right wing, which I do agree and did agree with that movement. But we have the option to, if something should come about to make us better in a different situation, we could change the construction of our offensive lines and do different things. So we have flexibility. It's always better to have more center icemen than wings at any given time. Some can adapt that more than others. But these are things that will certainly all come during training camp as to what happens in free agency and who we have here and where the development is in a couple of our younger players who we left in the minors, who I think are fairly close, but close isn't good enough until you get them in. So right now, I believe in this core. I believe in, certainly I look at the fourth line that we have who
before he starts getting to the fourth line. Okay. So still reiterating multiple times, I believe in the core of this group. We've got a lot of depth. We've got a lot of pieces that we can maneuver around. And I don't know, because the question was asked, what types of moves need to be made this offseason? We'll see how the development goes. We'll see how this happens. We got a lot of depth. We can play around with things.
Got 5 centers.
Yeah. We got a young defensive core. We got guys at 27, Pellick and Pulak. We got Romanoff and Dobson, 22, 23 years old.
19 years old. They're both 19. Pellick and Pulak are 24. Hey, this team's got a long shelf life ahead of us. You know what should the beat writer have said? Yeah, okay, that's great. This was my question. Maybe you didn't hear it or you heard something a little different. This is the question. Just re-ask the question. I don't think you understood it the first time.
Oh.
We know what the answer is before the question's even being asked in this case. When you look over this team's roster and you look over the contracts and everything that's going on in the RFAs and on our own UFAs, as he says, the only players he actually realizes actually exist in free agency are his own UFAs. And that's the same thing every year. Okay. He set this team up where they can't utilize free agency properly. That's his fault.
Yep.
Okay. And that's exactly why, I didn't want Lane Lambert fired. I thought Lane Lambert totally deserved another season here with the Isles and another opportunity.
Sure.
I feel he's earned it. Again, I'd like to see his coaching staff tweaked a little, at least get me the power play coach, please. But I want Lou back this year. You know why? Because I don't want some other GM to come in here for this year when he can't really do much to change this yet, and then he has to take responsibility for Lou's crap. Let Lou take responsibility for it this year. Let him.
I hope people, and revisionist history is always something, and I hope that people down the road aren't going to try to, it was actually Johnny, our next general manager's fault. He was the real reason why we struggled. We made the postseason 7 of 8 years under Lamoriello, and as soon as he left, we didn't make the postseason for the next 20 years. It's all because of that Lou left. That's the only. I hope that the history books don't get written in a shitty fashion and they blame the wrong people, because when the struggles happen, look no further than this man. That's it.
2 of them have 1 more year left, and certainly Casey has a couple of years, but they know how to play.
He's got 5 more years
in the play.
Just a couple more years. What's a couple? 2, 3, 4, 5. A couple.
A couple is 2. A couple is 2.
When you see a group of people walking, you usually call them, hey, there's a couple of people over there. There's 5 people over there. It's couples 2.
because I signed him to a way too long contract for a 30-year-old fourth line center. So he's got another 4 years left on his deal.
He does. And Matty and Martin and Clutterbuck are coming up on their final years. I mean, we don't know what they're going to do with the Parisi thing. We know they want Parisi back. It's whether Parisi wants to come back.
Sure.
Which I really think is 50-50 because his family, as I told you earlier, his family lives in Minnesota. He never moved him out to Long Island. Yep. So for Parisi to stay here, he basically can't be with his family, and he has to commute back and forth once in a while to see them or do this, be on Zoom to see his kids. All right, so I can understand if Parisi retires based on that. But the thing is this, here's the only reason why I don't want them to rip this apart yet. Yeah, I have one important reason. I want Sorokin signed long-term. And they won't be able to sign him long-term if they rip it apart.
It's funny because we're going to talk about that later too. The amount of fans who are trying to say, well, and this is grumpy. We're going to have to Andy Francis. We're going to have to get him. We're going to have to ask Andy Francis what's going on in his mindset. He's trying to use the fact that Aiden Hill is going to win a Stanley Cup. Darcy Kemper just won a Stanley Cup the year before. You don't need a good goalie anymore to win a Stanley Cup. All you need is fantastic offensive firepower. And I think to myself, I'm like, okay, not only do we not have the offensive firepower or the ability to move the puck at a quick pace, but we've got a fantastic goalie. But you have a better chance of a good goalie getting hot than a bad or mediocre goalie getting hot and stealing you a series.
Of course.
So, if you can have them both, right? Wouldn't that just be the ideal scenario? But yeah.
And the only way with this currently constructed team that we can win a Stanley Cup or get to one is if Sorokin plays like Bobrovsky played in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. If he doesn't do that, we've got no chance.
And he's got to do that every game.
But Sorokin is actually one of the few guys that's capable of doing that.
Yep. Aiden Hill's not capable of doing that. Aiden Hill can make an occasional big save, but he's not going to save 60 shots a night or 70-something shots a night like Bobrovsky did to get them past Carolina.
Vegas is a really good team, guys.
They are good.
Up and down that lineup, and they're big, they're physical, and they can skate.
Yep.
So they can make up for the goalie because their team is so deep.
Yep.
They chipped him to some extremely important goals in the style that they play. And going back to the question about the playoffs that are on now, if anybody watched the game last night, that's men playing. You need men when it gets to this time of the year. And I'll take men any day of the week when it's time to do the things. And that is our goal. The goal is to be where these two teams.
Okay, hold on, because we'll break it down. He needs men. Can't have boys out there playing and trying to win a Stanley Cup. Can't have boys out there. You need men.
That's my most infuriating comment of the press conference right there.
Uh-huh.
How many championship teams have great young players on it?
All of them.
All of them. Exactly. All of them.
Yep.
And you refuse to recognize that by using the excuse saying, I want grown-up men. Well, then you're never capable of being a real coach or GM if you can't take a 20 or 21-year-old and teach them and mature them. Or maybe because you just don't want to. Maybe because you're 81 and you have no prospects for anybody who's young. But you win championships building through youth.
It's not 1965 or 67, the last year the Leafs won the Cup. It's not with a really old team. It's just not. The game is played differently. It's officiated differently. The league wants it to look different. It tells you he just passed this. He just passed it. And you know what? It's fine. He was a great general manager when he was with the Devils.
Yes,
no doubt about it. No doubt. Before the salary cap and free agency, he was really good. But when you can't keep control of everything and players are free to go where they want and they're not locked into your team forever, and you keep your draft picks, guess what? He can't handle that anymore. And his Father Time's undefeated. It just is. Here's the thing. He was a great champ. He's just not anymore. And it's not a crime. It's not a crime. We just need a younger guy in here, somebody with modern thoughts.
And in quick fairness, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely is. And I will say this one thing. Sorokin is probably not here if he's not here. That's the one thing I'll say. He's probably not here if Lou didn't come here. So I thank him for that. I do. And Sorokin, in my time as an Islander fan, I'll say this to all Islander fans, the most talented goalie I've ever seen put on a New York Islanders uniform in my entire freaking life. And I don't want this to pass this organization by because you don't get players like this very often. We hit the honeypot with this guy. And we got him in, what, a 3rd-round pick for the McDonald trade from Philly, by the way. That's how we acquired him. And he give him credit. You brought him here. You brought us to a couple of conference finals. I thank you for it. It is so time for you to move on.
Yeah. And
he served his purpose. He served his purpose, which is to come here, bring their organization back to respectability, brought in Barry Trotz, another great move.
Great move.
Barry Trotz's time was up. So was yours.
And you look at the age of some of these teams that win, like Colorado. Randon was 24 years old. McKinnon was 26. Cale Makar was 22 last year. I mean, you look at the majority of the players are in their early to mid 20s. That's how teams are winning these days. You look at those Tampa teams. They had some vets on the team, but they also had incorporated young, talented players that had to step up, that get paid, they get underpaid when they're on their entry-level deals or they're still available to be a restricted free agent. You have team control. And then when players, hey, I can go out there and earn what I should be getting paid as a UFA, well, the contracts get driven way the hell up because you're not the only person in the marketplace who can go ahead and employ them. So, hey, you're going to have to give up more money, which means you're going to have to spread the talent more thin. You have to have incorporating young, talented players in order to win Stanley Cups. It's that simple.
Teams are. Our ownership has given us every resource and every possible thing that we need to do it. It's on us to do that. We have to get better. I have to get better. Our coaching staff has to get better. And our players have to get better. And the inconsistency has to be taken care of. Those are questions that have to be asked. I cannot give you an answer why we came out the 3rd period that we came out in the final game.
Because you're not as good as Carolina.
Time of the year. So, yes, I believe in this group, and I would hope that they believe in each other the way I think they do, and it's our job to get it done.
Okay, so a few things on that one. He's got to get better. The head coach has got to get better.
He doesn't really mean that. He doesn't really mean that, by the way. He doesn't mean that.
The question I'm going to ask here is this. How much better do we think going to be 8? Was he 81, about to be 82? How old is Lou Lamoriello? How much better? Was that Grumpy?
Really freaking old.
He can't get better. It's impossible.
Yeah. It's not like it's your first year as a general manager. You've had multiple years of experience. What do you think you're going to say? Well, you know what? I just overlooked this, and this last year, and I've had massive amounts of growth as a general manager, and I'm going to get better as a GM. And your head coach, I do seriously believe can be better.
Yes.
I think there's potential growth for Lane Lambert. That's something that can be done. Your players, the majority of them are hey, we need men out there. We need men. How often do you see men that are in the prime or past the prime of their career saying, yeah, let's ratchet up, baby. We're going to start playing a whole lot better this season.
Let's just, for shits and giggles, let's just run through the roster.
No,
who can get better?
Grumpy.
Who can get better? Can Matt Barzell get better? I think he can.
Sure.
Can Bo Horvat? I think he can.
Think he can perform better than he did last year.
Does left wing X, whoever that might be, maybe?
Oliver Wahlstrom.
Yeah, sure. Dobson can get better. Romanoff can get better. Bolda can get better.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, those guys can.
That's it.
That's about it.
That's it. No one else is getting better. Matter of fact, they're getting worse.
Simon Holmstrom can get better.
Yeah, I know how much he hates him, but he is 21. You know what? He can get better. And I'm not lying and saying he's 19.
You're right. No. He could get better. He could get better. Instead of him being like drink boy, he could be puck boy. That's how much he can advance.
Oh, God.
Now, I want to say one thing about his 3rd period comment when he says, I don't know what happened in the 3rd period. I know what happened in the 3rd period. When you have to bust your balls for the last 2.5 months of the season just to squeak into the playoffs because you don't give yourself any cushion because you had that horrific time period starting on December 2nd to January 27th. when you have to play 640 hockey to get into the playoffs, your players get tired.
Yep.
They get exhausted. And then you're playing a very physical, tough Carolina team. So by the time they got to that period, they were out of gas, Lou.
Yeah. Yep. I think
Carolina-
that's 100% right. That's the reason why maybe Sorokin didn't come out there and why wasn't Sorokin out there with a 960 save percentage? Well, because maybe we played him 23 of the last 25 games. Maybe that had something to do with him not looking like, not stepping his game up to be the best goalie in the NHL playoffs, but he still posted a 920 something save percentage.
That third period of game 6, he stood on his freaking head. They could have scored 6 goals in that period.
Yep.
If Carolina was healthy, that series is a sweep.
We maybe win one game at home.
If Carolina's healthy, that series is a sweep.
I think we get the game 3. I just thought the emotion of the first game there would have been enough to push us through it.
Nope.
And I think Sorokin's going to steal a game.
If Svechnikov and Pacioretty are on that team and Teravainen and Freddie Anderson, that series is a sweep. That series is sweet.
Sure. It's a possibility. It would have been much worse, right? We talk about how close the series was. I mean, when I'm getting it beat, 4 games to 6, if they had a healthy consortium, but they didn't, right? If they had a healthier team, they would have pummeled us. I don't disagree with that. It's the reason why they've won 16 of the last 20 times they've played us, because they're a matchup nightmare for us. Any team that skates well, that has a heavy forecheck, that controls the puck through the neutral zone, that's not afraid to be somewhat, even a little bit physical and the battle back, because that's really what the Islanders have, the physicality, right? Can you put up with the Islanders' physical play? If you could do that, you're going to be able to punish the Islanders. So yes, you have to love the amazing words by Lou Lamoriello. He also said that when he was asked questions about Josh Bailey, it looks like Josh Bailey's on the way out, ladies and gents.
Cares?
Well,
he was out.
Okay.
It's
time to go. I'm not like I saw, you had Brandon Gaines on here last show, and he kept thinking, I think it's only going to take a 4th round pick to move him. I disagree, because the cap is only going to go up $1 million a year. So again, the cap is so restrictive that teams are going to squeeze more out of you to take players with money. I think it's going to take a 2nd round pick to move Bailey. I do.
It's going to take this year's second too, maybe.
I'm praying it's next year's, because next year's draft isn't that great. So I'm praying it's next year's. But do we need to move him? Yeah, because we can't even put a full team together if we don't get that $5 million. Believe it or not. Sure. Otherwise, you start signing a whole bunch of $850K guys. But it's time for him to go. I'm not as hateful as you are to him, Grump, because, as I said, I know Josh Bailey. He actually did personal things for my family. He is an unbelievable community guy, and he was not a bad player through most of his career. His last couple of years, he's been bad. He also did well in the playoffs for us, so I got to thank him for the playoff years, because he did well. He's done enough here in 15 years that I can thank Josh Bailey for being an Islander, but he shouldn't play another game ever in the uniform.
They should. I said 3-4 years ago when Bailey had a good playoffs, I said on this show, I'm like, now is when you move Bailey. His value will never be higher, because guess what? He's a jag. He's just a ham and egger. And I've never, ever questioned him as a person. It's always just him as a hockey player. He brings nothing. Absolutely nothing to the table. Nothing. He's just a guy.
He's not going to help now. He's only going to make us worse right now. So you got to get rid of him, unless you're going to sit him on the sidelines and have him with freaking pom poms. It's time for him to go. I'm just more appreciative of him because, look, back when nobody else wanted to actually stay here, he did stay here. I'm not saying they didn't pay him, but he did stay here. And coming off that season, he probably would have gotten that contract. He probably would have.
The thing I have to mention too, I've seen a lot online about people are after those comments. You see the Josh Bailey montages and the Josh Bailey celebrations where it's like, thank you for rocking the barn. Oh my Josh, you've done such a great work for the Islanders. Thank you so much.
Losers.
Here's the thing. I don't care. He needed to go. I'm not like celebrating in the street that he's gone. He's a guy who I don't think offered much value the last few years. He needed to be moved away from. Yeah. But he'll never go down in when I think about the Islanders and I think about players who left a significant impact on this franchise and this organization. If you look at a history of the Islanders, Josh Bailey just was here a long time. I mean, like, you look at some of the impacts that other guys have left, and I guess this is just the way that the cycle is on social media. Is anytime anybody leaves, you could be there for 3 years or 4 years. Oh, you were such an integral part. We're going to miss you. So maybe that's just the way things are today. But I think I'm like, this is just a guy who suited up, was an everyday guy who fought and battled. I'm like, are we going to do the same thing for Cal Clutterbuck and Matt Martin and Casey Zizekas, all guys who wore their heart on their sleeves and fought every single shift? There was no freaking dog in those guys. Are we going to do the same thing for those, every single one of them when they retire?
But that's different too, because as far as Bailey, when it fades and time moves on, people are going to remember him more for the overtime goals against Pittsburgh and things like that, and they'll celebrate them, and that's fine. Guys like Clutterbuck, Zizekas, and Martin are different because they put their bodies on the line every single freaking night.
Sure.
And we know that they're not the most talented players, but there's never ever a doubt in your mind that those guys on every single night came out to play and sacrifice for the team. Yeah. So you appreciate what fourth liners are, but fourth liners don't win you cups.
Right.
Yeah. And it's, when you look at it too, it's one of those to where I think I could understand the love for a guy like that because, well, I know our fourth line gets a lot of hype, but if let's say it was a normal team's fourth line where they don't get dubbed the greatest fourth line in all of the NHL, I can understand.
That was 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago. He said
the reason I'm bringing that up is because people still use and throw that term around. I can understand making some sort of appreciation post to somebody who is undervalued like that. I don't think Josh Bailey was undervalued. I just think he was a guy who was a topic for great discussion and great disagreement amongst the fan base. And I'm kind of happy that disappears.
Here's what I would do with Josh Bailey. Send him down to Bridgeport. Let the younger kids learn. Well, if there are any younger kids, let them learn what it's like to be a professional.
They're not going to do that to Josh Bailey.
I thought about that for a while growing up, and it was originally my idea. But we need more than 1.125 in cap space by sending him down. That's all we get. I got to think about what we're doing, what we're trying to put together here too. And I'm not looking to punish the man. I do think he'd be a benefit to kids because he is a classy guy. He's a decent, good-hearted guy.
Sure.
He's very much a team guy. He can definitely teach these kids. But if I can get rid of the $5 million cap hit, I'm doing it.
I'm not trading. For me, I'm not trading another asset to move. If you were going to trade an asset, you needed to move him off the team 3 years ago. That's what you need to do. Not now, not last year of his deal.
I'm going to run around the league because to me, Robin Salo is never going to get a chance here.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah.
I'm going to run around the league because Robin Salo has talent.
Yep.
He has talent, guys. He can play. He can be a top six defenseman. I promise you all this. And he can be a second power play unit guy. I promise you that too. I would run around with Bailey and offer Salo and a fourth round pick to take the $5 million off our cap. Because if we're not going to give the guy a chance, maybe we can utilize him to free up something that we need. That's what I'm doing if I'm GM. I'm going to try to work that because I do want to keep my seconds. First and seconds are very valuable picks. I'm tired of trading them away. In fact, I want to add some.
Sure. Yeah. It's how many years? This is our fourth year in a row without a first round pick. And I could tell you just based off of the mindset it looks like our general manager has, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we trade away another first round pick this upcoming year.
Please, no, please.
That's why he's got to go.
Can we go 5 years without a first round pick? Can we make it 6?
You know what that does to an organization in any sport? I'm not just talking about hockey. Any sport.
Yeah.
It just destroys your bottom system. You need to bring people up through your system. And so you just need to have it loaded sometimes just to even be able to make trades so you can actually add what you got to add. But if you want to feed your team, you've got to have a system. If you don't have a system, you can't feed the team.
In a salary cap league,
yes,
younger players make a lot less than veteran players.
Absolutely.
Period. They're cost controlled for however many years. They're the lifeblood of an organization. We're bone dry right now. Bone dry.
Close to it.
But we say, oh, we've got Maggio, we've got William Defoe, right? We're finding guys in the 5th and 6th round that are gonna be everyday producers. I'm like, guys, you know, people, these are the same people in the same breath that would say, well, they're a prospect until they're a player, so we can't go ahead and overhype certain prospects up. You know, I'm not going to get on board saying overage guys who score against 17 and 18-year-olds and when they're 20 are guys that we should be, oh man, this is a guy that's going to revolutionize the Islanders. This is a guy that's going to make a huge impact. I'm just not ready to get on board with that.
The guy I really like is Ishnikov. Just if you guys get a chance
Sure.
to watch him, he's a really talented kid. I know he's small, but he's got the hands, the speed, the skills, and the vision.
Yep.
You know, if you can get him up here and he can actually sustain, you know, because it's not as nasty a league anymore as it used to be. So I think he can survive up here once he gets the chance. And I like Duranda, though. I liked what I saw out of him. Not that he's a top 6 forward, but he's a capable NHLer.
Certainly, a bottom 6 guy.
Yeah.
But when you keep your bottom pair together, or your bottom line together for 10, 15, however many years they're going to keep it together, it doesn't allow for any of those guys who may be fringe NHLers, or you might be able to find as an NHL guy who's drafted late to have a chance to play.
A 4th line guy should never get a second contract ever. They are imminently replaceable. They are replaceable
unless they're willing to take their value.
Sure.
And I don't mind if I got to pay a smidge extra, and I do mean a smidge, but you're not getting a 4-year deal from me. You're getting 2-year deals at a pop. I'm not giving you those deals.
Yep.
Eric Howler, who I said that's a guy I wanted over Casey. 2-year deal is what he signed. 2 years, and he played 3rd line minutes.
Yes.
For whoever he played for this year.
Boston.
Was he with Boston? No, I think he's gone from Boston.
He traded for
Boston.
Jersey. Jersey. I'm sorry.
Jersey.
He played for Boston last year. Jersey this year. Jersey this
year. Killed the Rangers in that series.
He's playing 3rd line minutes for Jersey, who has way more talent than we have, and he signed for less money than Casey Zizekas for 2 years. That's what you do. You don't sign a 4th liner to his 2nd long-term deal, making it a 6-year deal at the age of 30. It's just, come on. Even a moron knows better than that.
You don't do it. They're 4th liners. You can find them anywhere. If they don't want to, if they want to stay in your organization, they'll take their little 2-year clip deals. And depending on how good you are, I don't want to go over 1.5. You have to be an exceptional 4th liner for me to give you the 1.5.
Hudson Fasching. That's a guy. You guess what? You signed him last offseason as a UFA. Those are the guys who populate your 4th line. Or a young guy who just cut in his teeth. You let him play some 4th line minutes.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You don't sign 4th liners back long term. I don't care. Here's the thing. When your identity is a 4th line, your team sucks. That's all I have to say.
I'm going to tell Islander fans something, because there's a kid that we have who we just signed who's got a 2-way contract. And right now he's on our cap. He could play 4th line center for this team right now and be effective. And his name's Kyle McLean.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I like Kyle McLean.
He can absolutely do that job, and he can do it at $800K.
There were 3 players who I thought looked good when I went to see the Islanders, the Bridgeport team. One of them was not Simon Holmstrom, by the way. It was Ratu, McLean, and Durando. That's it. I wasn't even really impressed with Salo. But it was Ratu, Durando, and McLean. No one else. I'm like, nope. None of them. The rest of them were just, nope, no shot. They forced Holmstrom on the team. They forced him on the team last year.
In Salo's defense, he doesn't want to be in this organization anymore.
Well, there you go.
He's one of the guys who's in the punishment group, as I call it. Once you fall into an area where you make Lou mad, there's no getting out of that doghouse. Salo's in that group, like Hosang was, Bellows, Robin Salo, that group.
Wild.
Yep. Bodie Wild, he destroyed his career. If I really wanted to get into what he did to Bodie Wild here, you guys would all throw up.
Do it. You're not on the show long enough. Do it.
All because he didn't want to take a vac shot.
Yep.
He basically told him, I will do everything I can to crush you for not taking that shot. So we gave him no opportunity to play in the minors, nothing, and then eventually sent him off to Europe. And I mean, what he did to that kid mentally, the kid was done. And he's a sweet kid, by the way. He's a really sweet kid.
Yep, and it's funny, right? You look at all that, and not taking that off the rails, but every single individual who was fired, I believe, in the state of New York for over that vaccine has been offered all their back pay and their jobs back there because they're trying to avoid lawsuits. So it's one of those where you're like, it's funny how that goes. But we do have an ad today to read from DraftKings. Light the lamp during the NHL playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers can make a $5 bet and score $200 in bonus bets. Grumpy, they keep moving it up every single time. We're in the Stanley Cup Finals. You get $5 bet. You can get and score $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code THPN. Again, that's promo code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. You can also go ahead and see resources if your loved one has gambling problems in the description and the details in the show notes below. So if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, find the resources in the description below. This is I wasn't expecting anything profound from Lou. I was expecting him to check the box. I was interested to hear about what he thought of the season. Was it a success? Was it a disappointment? He said it was a disappointment. So, it's funny that, when I made the term, I'm like, yeah, it's complete failure, disappointment, etc. Oh, I wouldn't call this disappointing. The general manager says it's disappointing because the expectation for this team is still to be in the to be just like one of the two teams that are in the Stanley Cup Finals right now. And that's exactly how their ownership group pays the money forward for the team right at the top of the cap. That's how the general manager mortgages off the future, like we're a team that's competing for a Stanley Cup final. All that is the expectation, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are going to win, or we should win, a Stanley Cup based off of all the moves we make. And again, I'll ask, is this team signing back their unrestricted free agents away from winning a Stanley Cup? Because that's the offseason plan right now.
No, they're not.
I usually never agree with Tommy Baffi, but we agree on this. He's finally come around to the dark side.
Stop.
Finally come over to the dark side.
I do want to hear, Coach.
I just want to say one quick thing, just to touch on what we talked about just before the commercial break. When your general manager is punishing players because they don't toe the company line, that makes him not just, first of all, a bad GM, but a shitty person as well.
Tyrannical.
If you don't want him, and the Ho-Sang thing, you knew you didn't want Ho-Sang. Why not just cut him loose? You don't want him in the organization. You don't want Bodie Wild in the organization. You don't want Robin Salo in the organization. Just cut them loose. You don't just string them along, grind out their career, their productive years, and then just, your career is over.
Stunt their development and say, we're not going to give you a chance or opportunity, but I'm also not going to trade you or move you to a team that's going to give you the chance and opportunity. That's where, as a former player, it would bother me. If I feel I'm good enough and I could do this, if I want to request a trade, right, and you don't feel I'm good enough, then move me. Because what realistically is going to happen is I'm going to sit my ass here in Worcester. I'm going to sit my ass here in Bridgeport. And then I'm 24, 25, 26, and somebody's going to look at me and say, well, the best case scenario is I can end up like Hudson Fasching. Maybe I could sign a 1-year, 2-way deal with a team and go ahead and have a fantastic performance due to injury and find a way in the lineup. That's the best case scenario when things like that happen. Maybe I can have a Hudson Fasching story because I wasted many years in Bridgeport without getting a legitimate shot and chance.
And the unfortunate fact is, if a player comes out and says, I want to get moved, and puts all the dirty laundry on the table, everyone's going, well, gosh, it's Lou Lamoriello. He's no way he's like that. I think a lot of people around the league know what he's like. I really
call me crazy, but if I am a coach or a general manager and I am dealing with a lot of young kids, I really want to be a father figure to them.
Sure.
And teach them. And yes, they're going to make mistakes and they have to be punished sometimes for their mistakes. Absolutely. But my job isn't to crush them. My job is to teach them and raise them up. That's my job.
His job is to make the players in the organization as good as they can, so that they can bring the best to the big league team. So the team is better, the whole organization. That's his job. Punishment is not his job. He's not some 1950s school teacher who takes you down the back and paddles you on the ass when you do something wrong.
I
No.
could not take an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid who I know has talent, and then because they're not mature yet and they need to learn, and because they're not mature, and just say, the hell with you, I'm going to crush you. I cannot do that to somebody like that.
Nope.
Yep.
It was so obvious he did that to Ho-Sang. So obvious. And Bodie Wild, as soon as the who was the other? Oh, Bellows was another one. Bellows was another one that he punished.
He took the steroids, and they said, "Well, we're never giving you a chance." And he got a little bit of a shot with Philadelphia, but Phil was miserable with a shitty coach. Torts there as a coach, and he was just,
they just strung him along until his talent kind of waned a little bit. I just like
to make players the best they can be. That is your job.
And if you don't want to keep them, make their value as high as it can be, and then trade them.
Yes.
If you don't want them in the organization, he seems to he just seems spiteful to me. That's what it seems like to me.
Spiteful at everybody. You watch him do a press conference.
Yeah.
I sat in meet and greet and could not believe what I heard out of this man. I'm going, everything is about your way, and if nobody agrees with you, you hate them for it.
But his way doesn't work. His way doesn't work anymore. It's not 1995 to 2003. It just isn't anymore. Just not.
Yeah.
That's 20 years ago.
John D says, "Hey guys, not surprised with what the old geezer had to say. No trade clauses with most of the players. Hard to make any moves when those players are comfortable and won't waive it." Yep.
Send them down to the minors.
Yeah, send them all down to the minors, right, Grumpy? Have the most expensive Bridgeport team.
I'm telling you, if I was GM and you had a little niggling injury and you missed 2 weeks, you're going on long-term injury for the rest of your contract. That's it. He did it. He did it to Stefan Robidas. It's not. Don't put anything past this guy.
I didn't understand the Andrew Ladd one because he had bone-on-bone knee conditions,
and they brought him back for like a week, and then he got hurt again. Why?
And I get the player. The player can contest it. I understand that. If I had my doctors with Ladd's conditions, I'd be like, go ahead, contest it. You're never coming off my LTIR. I'm not giving up stuff for you. You have bone-on-bone knee conditions from multiple surgeries. You're not coming off my LTIR. Go get your doctors. Fine, file a case. We have our doctors. Let's go to court.
Yep, absolutely.
They're still getting their money. They're just not
still getting their money. Still getting their money.
Alan says no accountability. Lou and some of this fan base are delusional if they think the core could lead the team to a cup. It was over that Friday night in Tampa.
True.
There is one player on this team who, if he plays to the unbelievably top level of his ability, could actually do it for us because the goalie can control that much. But again, it has to be that season where Sorokin is so above everybody else that he carries us. But other than that, we don't have the players in front of him. That's the saddest part of this to me. We are in possession of an unbelievably special hockey player. We should be doing everything we can right now to start building around him properly.
Well, you're hearing certain members of this fan base, Phil Fax, who thinks, well, we should just trade Sorokin.
There's more than one fan who's saying that is the scary thing.
Oh, Michael Moisa said that too.
A lot of people are saying this. Trade away Sorokin. Look at how much Carter Hart just got. Man, I can only imagine. Let's trade away Sorokin. We'll get like 17 first-round picks. It's just.
I had the pleasure to meet Ilya Sorokin 2 weeks ago. This is a gentleman, a very respectful young man, and you can just tell there's an aura about him. When you meet some people, you can just tell there is greatness in this person. You can just smell it and feel it.
Yeah.
He's that great of a guy. He's a perfect representative for this organization. And if you got to pay him a little extra, that's the guy you pay a little extra to.
Yep.
And the cap will take a boost in another year. It's going to start taking jumps. Because if it wasn't for the pandemic, we'd probably be in the mid to upper 90s by now. But the pandemic did what it did. Okay, but this is the guy you build. Unless he doesn't want to be here, then yes, you have to trade him and get everything you can from him and not have another John Tavares situation. But if he wants to be here, you make it happen and you start selling off stuff and getting young picks and young prospects and start building this team right now.
Yep.
It would have been better if they did it a year, they did it this year. That would have been even better. But hey, it's better late than never. Now, Grumpy, you asked me to put up 2 pictures side by side
Yeah.
of Lou Lamoriello when he started his tenure and Lou Lamoriello now. So here's the picture of Lou Lamoriello when he first started his tenure. This is the picture of Lou now.
He's lost a lot of weight.
He has lost a lot of weight.
He's lost a lot of weight. Old people, when they're in the tail end, they lose a lot of weight.
Yes, they do.
They do.
It's
noticeable. It's noticeable how much he's thinned out in the last year.
From somebody who used to be in the medical field, it also tells that there might be something going on there.
I don't think there's. I just think when you get older, your body doesn't need as much food. I've seen it with family members when they get, when they start getting, they stop eating, they don't eat as much, and you see the difference. I thought it was stark. It's stark. I mean, he's 81 years old.
He looks completely different from when he first got here to now. His physical attributes have changed greatly.
Yes, he does.
And honestly, it's not like he's got a whole lot of pressure on him either. He won't answer. He won't talk to the fans. He doesn't talk to the media. Doesn't talk to anybody. And I don't know what the issue is. I just think he's old.
He's 81. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. He's going to the Hall of Fame. And he's being paid. I'm sure he's being paid an astronomical amount of money. I guarantee you they're paying him a lot. If they paid Garth Snow a lot of money, they're paying this guy a lot of money.
He doesn't need to disclose that information. I don't understand why we keep asking questions about that.
I bet you he's making $7-8 million a year.
Oh my God!
Buddy.
I bet it. I would bet that he is.
Jesus Christ! Oh my God! So yes, to show you the pictures, for those who are just listening, I recommend you at least go over to YouTube or one of the video formats to where you can at least see this. It does look like he has lost a significant amount of weight. Maybe he just started hitting the gym. Maybe he just started taking up
that's
fitness
it.
at the age of 80.
That's what people in their 80s start doing. Hey, I'm going to start cutting some weight in my 80s.
I'm going to start hitting the gym hard.
He was the right guy when he first got here. He was the right guy at the right time. He was the right person for the first 3 years. It was good for us.
Absolutely.
And that's why I gave him an A in his first 3 years. Now he gets C to C- for me in the last 2 years. And that's me being maybe a little nice.
It is being nice.
Grumpy, look at this comment from State of Survival.
Welcome to the older Lanny McDonald and the Grumpy Old Man Show.
Yeah. The older Lanny McDonald. John D. Grumpy.
Unfortunately, it's going to be a long time before we're a winning team. 100% agree.
And he said the only way that we can get younger is to gut the bottom of the roster. But the old geezer won't do that. I really can't wait until he's gone.
Same here.
State of Survival says here, just wait until you see Lou sign Clutterbuck or Martin to 8-year, $1 million contract.
I don't think he resigns him back. I don't. He might not even be here after next year. If we don't make the playoffs again, he's gone. He's gone.
I mean, look, personally, I think we're probably going to be in that same position where we're sitting between 7 and 10 again this year. So there's a decent shot we'll make it because remember, Bo Horvat's going to be here a full year now. Yep. So that's a plus. And Sorokin probably will get better, in my opinion.
You want to know who else is going to get better? Buffalo.
Yes, I agree. But there's some teams I like Buffalo and Ottawa, though I think they got to find goaltenders. And Ottawa, I think, is a year away from hitting that. But I also remind people that Boston might be a catastrophe this year. And
Boston will still make the playoffs.
Okay.
I think they will too.
And I'm never totally sold on Florida right now because they do have a horrible defense. And and that's a problem for them. Tampa and Toronto, I think, are at their points now where they're going to, in another year or two, they're going to start going like this.
Yeah. Well, I won't say that severe. They're certainly Tampa is certainly over the top of the hill and on the way down.
Yes.
I think Toronto is right at the top. They're going to be on the way down. Pittsburgh's going to be better next year.
If they get a goalie, I like Pittsburgh a lot if they find a goalie.
Same thing with Washington.
I think Washington is not good. I don't like, as far as the Caps, I think they've seen their better day. I do. And their goaltending is terrible as well.
That's
people forget that.
Yeah, Tommy. The only thing that saves us is we have Sorokin. Without Sorokin, we are the Capitals. in my opinion.
Carolina's going to probably win our division for the next couple of years because they're right at the heart of their team. And
You're young.
New Jersey, not the Rangers don't scare me. It's Jersey who scares me.
Yeah.
Jersey's they are fast and talented. You put a goalie with the Devils, and God help us.
Yep.
JP Grumpy.
Good evening. What is there to say that hasn't been said? This franchise is a hot mess.
Yeah. I'd agree. And Adam P said, Coach Tommy B is going to be on, and I can't listen for at least 30 minutes. So hopefully he got
How you doing,
Adam? Breaking news. Beaky the Buzzard finally spoke to the media and gave the same NPC answers that we were all waiting for. John Smith said, hey, look, an 8:30 podcast is on.
The 8:30 podcast is on.
Andrew L said, Lou is really good at saying a whole lot of nothing. Yeah,
but
circles.
The whole thing is the reporters don't press him on the questions. When he doesn't answer, dude, you didn't answer my question. This was my question. Can you please answer the question that I ask? And then let's see. You'll see him get pissed off, and then you.
Where is that coming from?
I don't like when he talks about the coaches there. There's got to be a follow up there when he states that. Well, I didn't say that they're all going to be back. Well, who might you replace? What's going on there?
I mean, you're in charge.
What coach is in danger? You got to ask that question.
Yes.
What coach might not be back then? He let it out there that he might not bring all the coaches back. So which coach? Which coach is?
Which one are you still waiting for answers on?
You just said they did a great job, and now you said that they did a good job, and now you said, but they might not be back.
It was acceptable. First it was good, then it became acceptable 30 seconds later.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. John D said, I really want to know what young forward talent we have. Like he said, I don't see it.
We don't have it.
Frank K said, Malkin's a joke. We will never see this team win another cup. The ineptitude is mind-boggling. No other sports team operates like this. Total Bush League crap.
I just want to say one thing. Frank, you're young. You still have the potential to see the team win a cup. Me, I'm not so sure.
It's true.
I think the biggest reason why Malkin loves Lou is Lou shields Malkin from ever having to deal with the fan base.
That's true. I guess he takes all the blame. And unless you listen to this podcast where you start calling out the Property Brothers, Grumpy. That was right. The last time Coach Tommy B and I were on. That's right. The Property Brothers.
Yeah, when I left you two little mice to your own devices, we were selling the team.
Yeah,
the last time we have ever seen Malkin was when he hired Lou. We have not seen him since.
Well, but that's the other guy's just the mouse.
We've seen Goofy. We've seen Goofy Ledecky over there smiling, taking pictures with all the fans. Riding the freaking LTIR. Or the Long Island Railroad. JP says here, Grumpy, one of the commenters reminded me of something. I believe the reason that Game 7 against the Leafs Islanders loss might have been the worst for you than the 79 Rangers loss is. So the 78's loss was on free TV. That 79 series outside of Game 2 was not.
What? No.
So were you unable to get the game? Were you unable to get the game or the 1979 series?
The Rangers had their own network, but even back they were on Channel 9 back then, all the time. You were able to watch all the Rangers games on Channel 9.
Oh, every game was on TV.
It was Channel 9. You remember it, Grump?
Yeah. WOR TV was the Ranger channel for certain. And the Islanders had WOR as well. They were on there as well.
Michael Moisa says here, Tommy started eating the trash inside a loose garbage can. He found a used napkin that had the words DeBrincat on it.
Oh, hey, I'd love to have him, Michael. I'd love to have DeBrincat on this team. How could we actually maneuver to make that trade? It's so complicated now because we gave up that $8.5 million and we gave up those pieces. If we had Ratu and still had that first round pick, we could get that guy and sign him and put him at Barzell right now.
Sure.
But someone jumped the gun.
Yep. Blew his load a little early. John D said here, I think he's going blind as senile as well as senile. And the weather is unreal today, says Paul W. Oof. Okay, let's see here. JP said, we really can't complain too much about the air quality. Imagine living in Nova Scotia. Charles D says here, I thought you guys would have an emergency podcast yesterday, but as you can see, there was no reason for one. We were thinking about doing that, but I was like, no, we can't do that. It's the off season.
You know what the
TJ
best part of that was, Grump and TJ? If you're here in Long Island, and when this came out that he was going to finally speak, and then when you heard Lane wasn't going to be with him, the speculation flew everywhere from these guys that Lambert was going to be fired. I'm just like, I don't think so.
I did hear, I was about to say, oh, you're not going to bring him. Does that mean, you see, I think it was Phil's fax was throwing him out there. Whoa, we're not going to see him out there. Does that mean that maybe there's a separation? People are so freaking giddy to get rid of Lane Lambert, but Lane Lambert's not the reason why the team struggled this year. Did he help sometimes? Sure. Did he hurt sometimes? Sure. He's not Barry Trotz. He's not at that level. He's not a Hall of Fame caliber coach yet. It was his first year on the job as a head coach. Come in with realistic expectations, please.
The problem with the Islanders all stems from the general manager. All of it. Every single bit of it.
Andrew L said the reason why it's so smoky up there in Long Island, Lou forgot to turn his oven off. Okay. That's what it is. Okay. Andre M said we should be concerned with this ownership. No accountability. Lou has a blank check to do whatever he wants. Yes.
I don't think you want owners who are intricately involved in the day-to-day operations, but they should know, you know what? This is not working. They should look at that and say, this is not work. Anyone with here's the thing. Maybe they don't know anything about hockey and they can be bamboozled by Beaky. But for me, I'm sorry. You have to look, dude, this is where we were 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We were a team. Now look at our team is kind of old. We didn't make the playoffs last year. We just squeaked in this year. We lost to a team that was missing 3 of their top 6 forwards and had a backup goalie. We lost in 6. I mean, it's not like Carolina was winning the cup. Carolina lost to the team that we lost to the team that lost to the team that lost the Stanley Cup. So it's not like Carolina won the cup. Oh, if we had a breaker here, we can win a cup. No.
We're close.
Carolina didn't even beat Florida, and they wouldn't have beat Golden State. They wouldn't have beat the Golden Knights either.
Look, I like the owners like a George Steinbrenner and a Steve Cohen, just to name a few, because they do get involved. And though they're not always right, if you're working for them, you know you're being really watched to do your job. Okay. So I actually like owners like that because they make the GM and the team president or whatever actually have to be held accountable to what they're doing. So, I mean, we grew up, I don't know how well he knew George. If you grew up during the time, George Steinbrenner was the most fun owner there ever was in the history of sports. He was that charismatic and fun. It's good to have like that.
And here's the thing about George Steinbrenner. If George Steinbrenner was owner of the Yankees still, Cashman would have been gone long ago. And Aaron Boone wouldn't have lasted 2 seasons with that team.
Definitely not.
He would have been gone. There's no way they would have kept him, not after last year.
He was simple. If you don't win, you're gone. But I agree with that.
Yeah.
We got here another comment moving along. Dungoon says, it's so smoky here in Long Island that it's difficult for me to see the keyboard as I type this message.
I think because Dungoon's been drinking. That's what I think.
Can't
see the keys. Hey, wait, the A used to be over there. How come it's over here now?
TJ's tweet pretty much summed up the press conference in a nutshell. Yeah, do you remember when we were talking about this, Grumpy, and you were shitting all over my parade and shitting all over? I said the reason why Lou was waiting as long as he did was he was hoping that some of the angry portion of the fan base started to focus on other sports and started to focus on other things. So when he came out and said, we're going to do absolutely nothing, that he was hoping for a less volatile response from the fan base.
You know what? That shows how little he knows about the Islander fan base.
There you go.
Because our fan base, and we passionately disagree with things sometimes, we are so into this team.
Yep.
And we're so passionate. People can't wait for the next season to start. They want to know what the heck we're doing, who we adding, how we improving. If you think you can get away with that crap with the Islander fan base, you don't even know who we are.
Uh-huh.
You can do that in a place like Nashville, maybe Arizona. You certainly could, where the fans don't really care. I mean, Islander fans care about this team. They really do.
Got here a comment from George Pace saying, if you really watch and listen, his disgust for the press and the fan base is beyond obvious.
Beyond.
Yes.
Hard to believe that we all, and don't get me started. The media
JP
has
says,
to,
Lou believes in this team. Maybe he can also believe he can fly and try to take off from a roof.
no, JP, that means he probably would break a lot of bones in his body if he jumped off a roof. We don't want that. Matthew C said, we're here and we're under contract. What's so difficult? Yeah, the way he answered, what's so difficult? I don't understand why it's such a difficult question or such a.
Will you be back next year? It's a yes or honestly, it's a yes or no. Yes, we will. No, we won't.
Frank, what's up? How are you doing? Gungun says, Coach Tommy B in the house. Yo, Mr. B. At what precise point did you realize that the Islanders had blown it in the playoffs this year?
As soon as they qualified.
When did I realize they had blown it? When they put that team on the ice that we watched play in the first round of the playoffs. As I said, I've been saying it all along. We had one chance to steal playoff series. His name was Sorokin. That's it. That's our chance to win playoff series.
Yep. Yeah. And got your comment from George Pace, grumpy old man.
Seriously, Lou was smug and arrogant. He likes the core, the same core that missed the playoffs 2 years ago and barely squeaked in this year. Yep, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Stanley Cup or bust? Remember that?
That was 2 years ago.
Sure was. Stanley Cup or bust.
It's still kind of like that now. I mean, hell, let's make the Stanley Cup finals.
No, it's not. I can tell you where they're at, but between him and ownership, I can tell you what those conversations are. Just keep us afloat enough to keep the fans in the seats. And that's called mediocrity. That's what's going on between those two right now. They're afraid that if the ownership is afraid that if they tank for a year or two, nobody's going to buy any tickets. They're afraid of it.
I think.
Sorry. If you tank and you start putting some young, fun players that are learning, people will go to the games. I promise you they will.
Yes.
But if you put a crap product on the ice that's in last place, nobody will go to the games.
That's right. I think, and that's why I said, Tommy, when they first moved in, I told TJ, I told everyone on this podcast, I think the fan base could live through another rebuild with Lamoriello and Trotz because of the cachet they had. I firmly believe that, okay, we have Lamoriello, we have Trotz. Yes, we're starting over again, but you know what? We believe in these guys. They chose not to do that. Now it's going to be a monumental task. Monumental task coming back from this.
It'll be hard to do it, and they do have to find a way to kind of move. It can't be a full-on rebuild. It has to be a rebuild, but not a full-on, because you've got to have Sorokin, Barzal, Dobson, a few of these, and then go to them. But you're going to need we're going to need one really awful season to get that big player early in the draft to feed in.
It's almost like it's going to be a couple off seasons because we have nothing in the pipeline. See, that's the whole thing. When you just continually trade away your draft picks and you're okay, well, we have guys from the 5th round, the 4th round, 6th round. You know what? 99% of those guys don't pan out. They certainly don't become stars. And you know, if you had some of these guys come in a little bit of time, then you get the big piece. Okay. We're just nothing in the pipeline. That drives me crazy.
For every Anders Lee, you're going to run across 7 or 8 guys that you're like, oh, yeah, we drafted him. He looked like maybe he had something. You're going to run into 8 or 9 Mitchell Van Sompels.
More than that.
Oh, Mitchell Van Sompel. Oh, such high expectations. He's going to do great. He's doing great in Bridgeport. Yeah, he's just like most of the guys. He just never made it. Late pick, just didn't make it. Gungun says, which song is more fitting to listen to if you live in New York? Smoke on the Water or Smoke Gets in Your Eyes?
Smoke Gets in Your Eyes.
Yeah, that would be, if you stepped outside right now, I have to agree with that. It literally burns your eyes and you feel it go down. It's vicious. It's nasty. I'm surprised Lou survived the press conference yesterday with this.
He was probably from some remote site, some dungeons, probably in a basement somewhere. Probably in a basement somewhere.
He did it in person, Grum.
Keep him away from the people. Keep him in a basement.
Oh, he did.
Brian P says, George Pace, he's so smug, it's ridiculous.
John saying here, I was surprised he made it to the press conference. I'm sure Fredo had to lead him. Oh God,
Fredo got lost. Fredo got lost on his way to the press conference.
Look, I don't, and I think that's, by the way, when he starts saying I had to ask questions, I bet you the majority of his questions to ownership was, what are we doing with my son?
Yeah. Fredo needs to stay employed.
Fredo needs a job. So,
Yeah.
and I've been told that ownership does not want him taking over this team.
There's no way he should take over.
Yeah.
He hasn't even, his dad's got him every job he's ever had, including the first one when he was delivering newspapers.
Yeah, and here's another thing. Why didn't, obviously Bada put out a report, a couple of guys put out reports about how not only is Lou getting a 2 or 3 year extension, they're planning the transition away from Lou. Where was that question yesterday?
None.
What's going on? We've heard rumors about a transition. When is this transition going to start? Are you in motion already? You're going to be here for 2 years and transition out. How could that question not be asked? He's 81 years old.
You are 81 years old. Have you
thought about spending more time with the family and retiring? Sorry, bro.
You're 81 years old. Wouldn't the organization be wise to transition away from you? Let's say, Lou, you were running a business and you had someone who was 81 running your business. Something that fast day-to-day things where you got to be, super sharp. Wouldn't you want to transition away from somebody like that? Let him say it.
Good says, how are the Islanders going to magically fix their stunk power play with the same cast of jokers? Well, it was good in the second half of 2 seasons ago. So, hey, that we just needed to perform like it did 2 years ago.
Those players. So, Bo Horvat, you could just sit on the bench during the power play. Don't need you.
Hey,
I explained it earlier. We have to we get a coach that knows what he's doing with that, and put the guys in the best positions that they can be to have success, which has not been done with our power play unit to date. I'm not saying it's going to be number 1 in the league, but I do think we can get it to be respectable if it's run properly.
Sure. And got here, George B said, say it. Lou has become a complete dick. I think so.
That's a little,
I think those responses.
Not complete. Come on, not complete.
Just, what do you think, Grumpy? Just half a dick?
75.
Oh, okay.
Look, that's a little over the top, but I understand what he's saying.
Matthew has said Lamoriello is a piece of shit with his early smug remarks, even though I'm not surprised. Yep. I want to be surprised, but I'm not, but I kind of am all at the same time, if that makes sense. Storm Chase Mike said, I'd like to say good evening, TJ Grumpy and Coach Baffi, but our general manager just made me despise this guy even more. Made no effing sense. Yeah. And Frank K said the fan base is being treated like shit.
Yeah, you're used to it by now.
You know what? We need a general manager just to have somebody that can actually touch base with the fan base and the reporters, just to do that job, so that that you don't have to sit there and listen to that.
Wouldn't you mean like a press secretary?
Yeah, a press secretary, yeah. Give him a press secretary.
All right.
Gungun said the Iron Sheik passed. Rest in peace.
81 years old. 81 years old today, the Iron Sheik.
Not bad for a wrestler.
Not bad for a wrestler. Yeah.
Who else do we know that's 81 years old? Grump? No, just kidding. Lauren J said, no, the fans would be making some player moves. And, it's not just the same as if the fans were in charge, Grumpy. The fans would make actual player moves, unlike Lou Lamoriello. And let's hear Brian P., Grumpy old man.
I agree 100%, Grump. I said the same thing when I was watching that cocky, arrogant asshole. I hate him. I'm serious. I was watching. I'm like, man, I hate this guy. The more I just watching, I'm like, God, man, I hate this guy. Just Just stop. It's what he's like Belichick. That's exactly what he's like. He's been successful so long that you don't even dare question him because of the success he's had.
Except Belichick had about twice the amount of success as Lou Lamoriello.
We live in a social media world, ladies and gentlemen. If you are going to have, when you have somebody that has to be your spokesperson for your franchise, it better be somebody that is likable. It's just so important, and you can't get away with this in today's world. This isn't back in the day where there was nothing. You couldn't do anything on your phone. It was just newspapers and a little bit on TV. You can't get away with that in today's world. Every single owner of a professional franchise better realize that if you put somebody out that it's going to be stuffy to the fan bases and the reporters, it's going to backfire on you.
Yep. Unless you win. Unless you win.
Yeah, then you can do anything.
Yep. If you win, people will put up with it, and they'll kind of find it cute, or they'll find it, oh, I'm kind of enamored by it because this is the reason that makes him him. So this is something Drew sent us. Oh my God.
The Islanders do not have a first-round draft pick. That was dealt to Vancouver in the deal for Bo Horvat. Lou Lamoriello, the team GM and president of hockey operations, had his end-of-season news conference earlier today. Lane Lambert's going to remain with the team. The Islanders would like to bring Zach Parise back. The veteran had 21 goals this past season, played really well.
Years old.
The team looking at potential trade options for the veteran Josh Bailey, who has been an Islander his entire career. And, you know, some of the challenges here, Scott, Islanders have a lot of aging players who make a lot of money, particularly up front. So Lou Lamoriello's got a lot of big decisions to make.
Yeah, you got to get younger, right? This is a young man's league. It's a lot of speed. You got to have the legs. You got to have the skills. And you know, looking at the Islanders roster, it doesn't really scare me. These are some great players. Barzal has all the skill.
Oh my God, what a terrible indictment! You look at the roster.
Look at the ages: Kulak and Pelech, 28, not 27.
And here's the thing, when the season starts, they're both going to be 29.
Yeah.
In the world,
Hobart,
great plays.
28.
Horvat.
Sure, you want
Yeah,
to say
go
something?
ahead. Roll it, TJ. Go ahead.
Sorry, Horvat came over, signed the 8-year, $8.5 million deal, and then a couple big defensemen there. Yes, I think they have better defense. They have great goaltending. Just up front, like you said, they're a little bit older. It's good to have those veteran guys mixed it in with some young, skilled, fast hockey players. They just don't have the young guys, in my opinion. And like I just said before, it's not a team on paper that it's like, oh, I'm shaking my boots. We got to play the Islanders today. It's a team that you know, you just keep skating on them, get pucks deep, make them come 200 feet. They're going to get tired, and we're going to wear these guys down.
Now,
Oh,
Well, okay. Isn't that exactly what happened in the Carolina series?
and
Yep.
it's sad that other
Exactly
people
what happened in the
skate
Carolina
on.
series.
The
Yep.
younger guys skated them into the ground, even when they were decimated with injury, skated them into the ground and wore them out at the end of games. You think about it, Game 5, Sorokin won that game for us.
Stole.
I mean, Carolina dominated that game. It should have been the gentleman's sweep is what it should have been. Sorokin steals that game. Scott Hartnell, what does he know? He only played in the league for how many years? What the hell does he know? No one, the Islanders don't scare anyone. You listen to the national pundits, they all laugh about the Islanders. They make jokes about them because they're not scared of them. No talent. I mean, they're boring. We sleep. PK Subban sleeps when the Islanders are on TV.
So does
come
Bissonnette. Oh, okay.
We're not entertaining. We don't win. You want to know why? That's what Ledecky and Malkin should really be concerned about. That our product, even if we lose, isn't exciting enough to watch.
Yeah,
who's really playing well, even in his 30s, Brock Nelson. Oh, career years, each of the last two with 36 and 37 goals in each of the last couple of years.
Unbelievable shot. I'm not sure if he worked on a shot one off season and he's just throwing laser beams. He's getting put in some positions to score those goals on the flanks in the power play. Anders Lee's a big guy in front, doing a good job screening for him on that power play. And they do have some pieces. It's just, for me, it's those old legs, the old body, can't go as the young kids can go nowadays.
Other veterans, Anders Lee, Kyle Palmieri, Lou Lamoriello mentioned they want to bring back Zach Parise. Pretty good. What are the challenges of playing in your 30s? You played a little bit in your 30s. Parise, Lee, Bailey, Nelson, the fourth line, JG Pajot.
I mean, half the freaking team
when you're that age.
It's probably more of a mindset than anything. I think the body can get going a little bit, but you've been training since you're 14, 15 years old, right? And you're eating so well in the summertime. You're training hard. We're just talking off camera before air. You're
tell everybody though you're not that disciplined with your diet.
Well, not me 30s. Personally, right? It's I love my brand, love my passes. A lot of these NHLers that to be frank, they eat like birds, right? A lot of salad and a lot of protein, right? Just to fuel the body. And I didn't have that discipline to do that.
So, yeah. Again, Hartnell, old team. I don't know if young players.
And but he wants to sign all of the he wants to sign all the free agents back. You see what I mean? But I mean, it's like, at some point in time, you got to say, you know what? That's why you're in cap jail every year, because you keep on signing the same guys back. They make too much money. Let them go. That's why you move a Scott Mayfield. You have somebody in the minors coming and ready to step in for him to where it's cost effective. I mean, Mayfield doesn't make any money, but Varlamov, I mean, Engvall. I mean, yeah, looks like they don't make a whole lot of money, but it all adds up at the end of the day.
It does. And it's why right now, I'm going to, if you're okay if I do this, I'll give you a quick outlook myself.
Let's do it.
Taking Kyle McLean off the cap friendly salary thing right now, we have about 6.2 left. Let's say we manage to trade Bailey away, and obviously we're giving up an asset. Let's do my trade. We trade Robin Salo in a 4th round pick. They, to Chicago or Arizona, somebody like that, and they take Bailey off our hands. We've got 11.2 to work with, and it's really not even 11.2 because you want to make sure you have a little cushion for accruement. You want accruement, right? So let's just say we got about $10 million to spend, or a little bit less. You're going to tell me you can sign all these players for $10 million? What's Wallstrom going to get? Probably 2 years at maybe about 1.25 per year on a bridge deal. Bolduc will probably get 2 years, maybe on $900K on a bridge deal. So there's a little over $2 million gone right there just from your RFAs. Now you're sitting with about $8 million to spend on your own free agents, quote unquote, where you've got Varlamov, Mayfield, Engvall, and Parise. Can you sign all 4 of those guys for $8 million?
Not with Lou Lamoriello as your GM.
No.
You can't. So who's the one I have it as them? I'm giving that Parise caves and comes back for 1 more year. And that's how I'm kind of looking at it. And figuring he gets like $1 million, right? So then you got your other 3 guys. Well, Varlamov's not taking less than probably 2.5. So and I gotta believe they're gonna bring him back. Do you think they're gonna bring him back?
I'd let him walk. Here's the way I look at Tommy. I've said, let's see how much money do you want to dedicate to the goaltender position?
Sure.
Let's say $9.5 million. All right, let's say 10. Sorokin gets 8. Varlamov, you're stuck with 2. I wouldn't even approach Varlamov until I've got Sorokin signed. Sorokin's the number 1 free agent we need to sign this offseason.
Problem with this is that you can't start dealing with Sorokin until July 1st. Free agency starts on July 1st. Yeah. So if you're going to ink Varlamov, you got to probably ink him before July 1st.
But here's the thing. He should have already had contact with Sorokin. You see guys sign on July 1st.
Let's pre-iron out a deal. Let's iron out a deal ahead of time, but we'll make it official.
What's it going to take? Just give us ballpark. What's it going to take? They do that all the time. I mean, supposedly, they don't do that.
Supposedly he asked for Vasilevsky money, which is like 9.5, which is, to me, is a little excessive.
I think so too.
I'll give him 8.5 is probably where I'd go to my ultimate mark, because then if I keep Varlamov for a year or 2, and then I could just bring up Lennox in 2 years and he's gonna be making no money, the money works properly. Because I like that there's a young goalie by the name of Tristan Lennox in the Island system I really like a lot. I like him a lot. But then to me, when I get down to the breakdown, we have room for 1 more free agent after you bring back Varlamov, Parise, sign your 2 RFAs, and you're between Engvall and Mayfield. And who actually do you need more?
Engvall.
So you're going to go into the season with no right-handed third-pairing defenseman.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting way to go, because you're probably looking at Engvall and Mayfield on the same deals. They're probably both going to get 3 or 4 year deals at $3.5 million per. Probably what they get.
That's why you
I
trade
think Mayfield
guys.
gets more than 3.5. I think he gets 4.
You
Probably
think he'll
lower.
get 4?
Maybe I think Mayfield a chance to give. Here's the thing. Now
on the open market, I agree, but I think he would give the Islanders a $3.5 million deal.
I don't see why he'd do that. He's always been trying
hometown discounts.
Loves it here. Absolutely loves it here. He's all he's known. He is the legitimate part of the crew and the core. Enville's not part of that crew. Mayfield's part of that crew.
Now, I want to bring this up, and I wonder how this affects it. Now, Stefan Rosner said, Anston, the Theo had 2 years, 2.25 or 2 years, 4.25 million AAV extension with the Blackhawks. I don't see this affecting Engvald's contract. I do. I think Engvald. Here's the thing. I think that definitely impacts Engvald's contract, and he's going to be around there. It's exactly what he's going to be.
Now, Stefan is saying there that Anasio is a better skater.
He
than
is.
Engvall.
He is.
And he's getting 4.25. There's no way the Islanders can afford that.
Engvall's a better back checker, though, better defensive forward than Anasio, but he's a better offensive. He's a better goal scorer than Engvall is.
And Engvall is a guy that people I think are going to wildly speculate on, saying, well, he never got a chance really to break any sort of legitimate minutes with Toronto. He goes to the Islanders that are struggling significantly. He gets a little bit of an opportunity. He scores a few points. He puts up some goals. He assists a little bit. He shows his speed. And, you know, they're going to say, great, this is a guy with more ice time that can perform maybe up to a middle six standard. So we want to get him at $4 million plus.
I bet you in this bad free agent market that we have out there, where the best player in the free agent market is probably Dmitry Orlov.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. In this free agent market, I bet you Engvall gets 4 times 4. Depressed market. I mean, there's going to be a ton of those type of players. You know, forward wise, you know, well, if you know, I would say that the forward that if he doesn't go back to Toronto, Ryan O'Reilly would probably get the biggest deal if he doesn't go back to Toronto. But you're looking at maybe Tarasenko doing 4 times 6, something like that.
No. He's not worth that.
Someone's going to give it to him to the depressed market. He's probably the best goal scorer on the market.
Yeah, no.
Watch what Barbashev gets after the performance he put on in these playoffs.
Well, we know the teams are going to spend on free. They always overspend for free agents. Here's the thing: if I'm Engvall's agent, I wait it out. Okay, you have an offer on the table for me. I want to see what else is out there. That's what I would say.
He played so well.
What does Engvall owe to the Islanders? He owes nothing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if I'm Engvall's agent, that's why I thought Horvat was dumb. I thought he could have really cashed in.
Well, if he played the way he did in the second half, that's the risk you run.
Yeah, he still would have got paid. Not what we paid. I mean, that was ridiculous. But Engvall, for a guy like Engvall, if I'm his agent, what's your offer? Hey, we're going to test free agency, but let's get back to you. That's what I would say. And he's going to find he can probably, because of the reasons you mentioned, TJ, I think he'll get more on the open market than he get from the Islanders.
I think he's gone.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be able to sign him because I don't think he's going to be able to give Lou the Lou contract. I just don't. That's why I think Mayfield's coming back.
I think if you listen to the post-game press or like the way they were speaking, I think I disagree. I think Engvall comes back. I think Mayfield talking about, oh, this is the first time I've ever been in a situation like this, blah, blah, blah. I think Mayfield is the guy who's going to be a free agent, and I think Engvall's the guy we're going to sign back.
And then we're going to have too many forwards, but not enough defensemen. So you got to fit the pieces into the puzzle. Mm-hmm. Do we have a right-handed defenseman in our system? We have one that I like, but took steps back last year, and that's Grant Hutton.
Yeah, I like Grant Hutton. Grant Hutton's a guy who could fill in.
He's making $775K, so they could go that way. I was one who said I thought that Grant Hutton could be the next Mayfield. You know?
Sure.
So, except he's a little bit better of a skater, but not as physical. But a very good positional defenseman. If you watch,
he's smaller than Mayfield.
He is. He's 6'3", 200. He's a big boy.
He's not. Mayfield's kind of thick.
Mayfield's much thicker. Hutton's a better skater.
Yeah,
and anybody has a better shot than Mayfield because that guy's shot is pathetic.
Unless he does one of his Bobby Orr highlights. Grumpy, Brian P says here, I agree 100%. Grumpy, I said the same thing when I was watching that cocky, arrogant asshole. I hate him. I'm sorry.
We already read that.
You read Charles D said, Lou likes men. And Matthew C says here, they will not make the playoffs next year, frowny face. Stefan Rosner says, you guys are something for sure. I don't know how to determine that there, Stefan. Storm Chase Mike says here, not to mention we still have a taste of Bailey in our mouths and not a complete purge of him. I tell you, he'll be like a folk hero for years and years and years to a certain section of the fan base, which is going to be the real thing that just rubs me the wrong way. People are going to remember him so fondly for such a
in 5 years, no one's even going to remember the name Josh Bailey.
You're wrong.
He'll be remembered.
You're wrong. He will be remembered for years and years and years.
His memory will become more positive as the years go on, not more negative. I'm telling you right now.
You want to know something from my point of view? When he didn't play at the end, I'd already forgotten about him.
Well, that's the same
I'd
thing with
already
me.
forgotten about him.
I was like, okay, whatever. He just, he does not affect my thought
jag.
process at all. Yeah,
He's a
but
jag.
here's the thing: fans will remember him extremely. I think about John Tavares, how much I think that the perception went from we want to burn him at the stake, burn his shit in the burn it, run over his jersey in the cars, light him on fire, all that stuff, and now people are like,
That was
whatever.
Tavares.
One day when Tavares' career is over, the fans will be okay with him again.
Yep,
I'm fine with him now.
The majority, but right now most aren't. There'll always be a couple of people who won't be okay, but the majority of the fan base, one day he'll come back here and they'll celebrate him, and the fans will let it all go.
Yep.
Yeah,
that day will happen.
I agree.
I'm going to comment here from Gungun saying, I don't even like wrestling, but I was a fan of the Sheik, especially his tweets. Oh, God. I can only imagine when he was out there tweeting.
Yeah, the Sheik was something else.
He was a great personality for a wrestler.
Particularly when his career was over. When he wasn't, he wasn't really the character anymore, but he was still the character.
Yes.
Just a little bit more R-rated. Let's just put it to you that way.
Oh, God. Matthew C. said here, he's right about, that can't have a soft team. Got to have men over there on team. Frank says, Romanoff was a good trade. Don't start, guys, because Isaiah George will be good, too. How about Lou ruining Bodie Wild, the puck mover that we needed?
We spoke about that earlier. And Isaiah George, Isaiah George looks like he could be something. He's a long way from playing in the league, though.
Talented kid. He's a great skater.
Which we need.
It's funny that we're talking about Bodie Wild today. It's somebody who does not follow the Islanders asking me about him. Like, whatever happened to that Bodie Wild guy who's supposed to be a really good skater, good at transitioning the puck, everything like that? Here's the thing.
Body check.
I think he was a guy who probably didn't have the talent that was needed, but the way that he was treated prevented him from growing, and I think it stunted any sort of legitimate growth and opportunity he had. Did he probably have it at the end of the day? No, probably not. But we certainly didn't do anything to help him develop himself. I can tell you that for a fact. Drew says here, well, Coach Tommy B, Robin Leonard did turn his life around until he decided to own a snake farm. Oh, gosh.
Well, snake farms are deadly, so I wouldn't go get one myself. But Robin Leonard will always be a player that most Islander fans can relate with and will love even for one season.
Yep.
That he will hold a special place in most Islander fans' hearts, and he earned it.
Absolutely. He definitely will always have a special spot in my heart for what he went through, for what he overcame, and the individual that, he was and what he left as. You got to love him. Jim James Z says here, I agree with the grumpy old man. Lou's got to go. Mario says here, Lamoriello displays such low disregard for the Islander fans. It's incredible. What's even worse is that there are so many fans who buy this crap. He wants the team to be like Las Vegas in Florida. And how is he planning about going about achieving that? By bringing back everybody.
Look at the talent that's on Florida and Vegas. Do we have anyone like Alexander Barkov? Do we have anyone like Matt Tkachuk?
Nope. I would have sold the farm for Tkachuk when that happened and put him with Barzell and then figured out a way to bring other guys in because that guy is the best power forward in the sport.
Yep. If he stays healthy, he'll be one of those Hall of Fame caliber guys because he's got the Tkachuk name to him as well.
He's nasty.
He's good.
Yep. They don't make players like that anymore.
Did you see the body check he got ejected for? They got the misconduct for. That's a clean hit. That's a clean hit. That's a clean hit. Even Eichel said it was a clean hit. I got to keep my head up there. That's the thing that's changed in hockey. You got to keep your freaking head up.
He didn't even catch his head.
No.
It's postseason. We're in the freaking Stanley Cup Finals, ladies and gentlemen. It's because who we hit and at the time period of the game. That's why.
But Bobrovsky's cooled off. That 12-day layoff, that's it.
Yep.
That's what I was afraid of for them. I felt when they had that loss, I said, if Bobrovsky cools off, they're dead.
Yep. JP says, I'm so glad Coach said what he said about the organization. Tends to bury players that we could use, that could use support, Hosang, Wild, etc. Absolutely. And Pat Cooper, rest in peace.
Yeah,
comedian Pat Cooper.
Frank saying here, trade Anders Lee. And got here Frank K saying Leonard couldn't win a shootout before joining the Islanders. Then I guess he could. Michael O'Donnell says here, hi, gents. I'm in a hospital tonight. Oh, no, 6 times in the last 12 months. Man, Michael, get better. It really sucks, but I'm grateful for your podcast. Thank you. Well, thanks,
Get better,
Michael.
Michael. Get better. I hope. I
Feel
don't know
better,
what's wrong
Michael.
with you, but
Feel
get
better,
better.
brother.
Please.
Yeah, absolutely. Goon says there was a great doc about
Doctor, that doctor? Is that a
There's
great doctor?
great doctor about that chap a few years back entitled The Sheik.
The Sheik, yeah.
Oh, man.
They
there
also
it is.
did an A&E biography thing on him also.
That's called.
That is called the Josh Bailey syndrome.
Oh, God. I don't know what Josh Bailey syndrome is, but I know.
George Pace has Josh Bailey syndrome.
Oh, God.
His hatred for Josh Bailey is like I've never seen before on anybody.
Oof.
I mean, I want to ask, did Josh Bailey steal money from you? Did he mug you or something? What the freak happened?
He stole the Islanders Stanley Cup by giving up that shorty when he went ahead and turned the puck over to Tampa in Game 7.
Okay. If you have to depend on Josh Bailey to win you a Stanley Cup, your team's not good enough. Sorry. Gungu says, Coach Tommy, do you think Lala Louie hurt Josh Bailey's feelings with his strong words and body language concerning his Islanders' future at the exciting presser?
Absolutely not. I think that they've already talked. They both know what's happening here. I think Lane Lambert, had the guts to do what he did last season, which is something Lane should honestly be thankful that he did not do what other coaches have done, and he decided it was time to move away from him. I don't think there's any hard feelings there. I think that Josh understands his future. Lou understands his future, and they have a good relationship, and they're just going to work together to get Josh somewhere where he's happy.
David D says, Mayfield will say the same thing. I want to stay here, but we'll go where he gets the most money, then leave out. We need a puck-moving defenseman that can score. I don't disagree with that. I wouldn't blame him. He's been underpaid for years. JP says, Iran, number 1. Russia, number 1. USA, hot 2.
I remember that.
Mario says, Horvat equals Pajot 2.0. Horvat's better than Pajot. He is.
Yes, but Nelson's better than Horvat.
I don't think he's better than Horvat.
I think Brock's a better player than Horvat. I think Brock is more of a game changer than Bo Horvat is.
I think overall, Horvat brings more to the table.
Does Brock need Barzell to put up his 70 points?
No.
No, he doesn't.
No.
Who did Bo need in Vancouver?
I'm not disagreeing. I just think when you next year with Barzell and Horvat, I think, and I'm not saying that Horvat's going to be a point a game guy. He'll be much better. He's not a creator. I
agree, but I'm just saying that he needed JT Miller, he needed Elias Peterson, and he needs Matt Barzell. Brock Nelson controls his line and puts up his 70 points because he's the man on his line.
He's been good the last 2 years. I'm not a huge Brock Nelson guy. Never have been. TJ loves him. Has loved him since the day he was drafted. I'm not a big Brock Nelson guy. I'd move him in a second if I got a good enough package.
You can get a law fan, by the way.
That's why I'd move him.
Yeah.
JP says, and Mr. Fuji certainly did use the term bonsai when he was wrestling before he became a manager. He even used the bonsai bomb, flying, rolling headbutt into his opponent's stomach. Yeah, wrestling was so much better back then. And now everybody's an acrobat. Just stop. It was just so much better. You watch some old time matches, much better. The build up, everything starts slow and it builds up to a crescendo. Now everything's, one high spot after another high spot. It's nowhere near as entertaining.
We only had like one acrobat back then. It was Superfly. Superfly Snooker was the acrobat. Yeah. And
before him, Antonio Rocca, he was a guy, or Mil Mascaras. They were high flyers, but no one was like, Macho Man wound up going off the top rope with the elbow. Guys just didn't do that. Now, so everyone's so much smaller that yes, they're like gymnasts out there. It's nowhere near as entertaining.
I miss the Andre the Giant type of guys.
Yes, so do I. Bigger than life.
Yep.
Ye right 2 Pop says, I'm done with this cupcake LGBTQA minus plus organization. Lou is a joke. David D says, trade Pajot and move Barzell back to his natural position. No way. Don't do that. Now, I wouldn't be opposed to moving Pajot. I would not be opposed to doing that.
Yeah, who's your third line center then? One thing that bothered me about this more than anything was you're asking the best player on your team to change his position. That doesn't sit well with me.
But if he's going to play with Horvat,
They're
not going to make. They won't make him the center then. Horvat's better at faceoffs than he is.
Definitely.
I mean, here's the thing: he could still run the line like a center.
Yes,
and just have Horvat take the faceoffs,
which is how I think they should do it.
Yeah, that's what they should do. That's what they should do. JP says, I doubt Lou and some type of community has anything to do with one another. Geriatric community, different story. Okay. Helen Yeller says, get Phil Kessel.
What?
Matt C says, no, not happening. Matthew C says, in Louis trust. No one trusts him anymore. All right. Helen Yeller then says, Kessel is better than Matthews. I don't know where that. I think
what Matthews? Because it ain't Austin Matthews.
Chris Matthews. I don't know. George Pace says Lou hates the press. Okay, here we go. Mario said the Senators got DeBrincat for the same package Lamoriello sent to the Senators for Pajot, first and a second round pick. Yeah, think about that. Think about that. Who would you rather have?
It was a much higher first round.
I've always said that though I like JG Pajot a lot, thought he really added a lot when we brought him here. And I says, but you do not give up first round picks for players you plan to play in the bottom six. Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm. The same thing with Palmieri. He's basically really a third line guy. On a good team, he's a third line guy.
His was a little more acceptable for two reasons. He can play on the second line and the power play, and that was a really bad draft, one of the worst drafts we've had, and we had a late first round pick. Pajot's was in a really good draft when we gave that first round pick up. So,
but we also
gave a second too, and we gave a second.
Well, yeah, we also gave up a fourth round pick and two players. One of them actually Greer turned out to be pretty good.
He actually played on Boston's fourth line on and off this year.
Yeah.
Got a comment here saying Frank says his face makes me want to punch it. Talk about Lou Lamoriello. Lou still thinks you don't need speed in today's game. What planet is he on?
He's sleeping.
The last draft would tell me that maybe he's finally moved on from that theory because he did draft a lot of good skaters last year.
Yes.
So maybe he's finally got that part. We'll find out with this year's draft if we actually have any picks left by the time we trade Bailey.
Oh my God. Got a comment here. What questions? You're the effing general manager. What type of questions are you asking? You're the general manager.
I told you, he's asking about his son. He wanted to know what's going to go on with my son in the organization. That was his questions.
Could somebody tell me what the F breakup day is? Did Lou have an ex-girlfriend just when the team goes ahead and leaves?
Yeah.
Like exit interviews. I wish Gross said, hey Lou, how do you feel about keeping Mayfield? Now that you're going to lose him, asshole. well,
Varlamov's the same thing, right? After that press conference, his last press conference he had, he's like, "Oh, we never even considered moving Varlamov." I said, "Well, he only played, 3 games since the deadline, and he didn't play after that press conference. I think it was worth broaching that question again." Well, you didn't play.
Where is this coming from?
Yeah, I'm going to ask it again. Do you really feel like a fool now that you didn't explore trading him at the deadline since you only used him 2 games and he didn't play at all in the playoffs or down the stretch?
I think about that for a second. That's another reason why I think that, Lou might sign Mayfield and Varlamov so he doesn't have to answer that freaking question. I brought them back so it didn't matter, because he's like that, guys. He's like that. He doesn't want to have anybody beat up on him. He hates that. So I can see him doing that so he can say, well, all you guys said I didn't get anything for him. Well, I brought them back.
Christ almighty.
That's just how he is.
He's got to go. He's got to go. I hate him more since you're on this show, Tommy.
I'm telling the truth about him.
Who did he? Well, here's the thing.
I'd rather just be ignorant and then he'll sign a guy just to be vindictive because he doesn't want to answer a question. That guy's like that's got to go.
Tim J said, Who did he want to ask questions to? Himself? Yeah. I guess members of coaches staff. Oh, why did we come out there and play so poorly in the third period of game 6? Yeah. Mario says here, Lamoriello brought out a chair and placed it next to the elevator just so he can watch the employees he fired leave the building when he was in New Jersey. Please tell me
that's nasty if that's true.
I hope that's a joke.
I don't know if that's true. If that's true, yikes. I want nothing to do with someone like that. Sorry. Guess what? He's thinking more of himself than the organization.
He's a real, I can't imagine that being true, but like if somebody does, I could just tell you from the things we've noticed here, I'm like, I don't get great vibes from him. And the more and more you see that type of stuff, the more and more I'm like, I don't like a person like that. Right. We talk about how great the people are. I'm not going to get off topic. George B said he wanted to find out that the toilet paper everybody liked so he can make sure that they have it in stock next season. Yes, that's going to cause the team more success. And a whole bunch of word salad, said Lou Rivera from Lou Lamoriello. Yeah, he's never going to talk, says Mary D.
That's not Mary D. It's somebody else using Mary D's phone.
That's Matthew. Yeah. David D says here, we have a no-show owner in Malkin, and the only viable one.
And only one viable one.
Yeah.
And got here, Grumpy Drew L.
It's not even you guys. Lots of Islander fans have been raking coals at the organization. The fans are pissed.
Well, I'm glad that they should be. I'm glad that we don't have the fan base just blindly following with what he's saying.
Well, I would say the online polls that we all read and watched throughout the offseason showed that basically 7 out of every 10 Islander fans wanted Lamoriello gone. And he's still here. So I would say that'll keep your fan base pretty pissed off.
You know what you do? If you're really unhappy, stop going to games.
That's the only way you can make
cut them. That's how you let the ownership know you're really unimpressed or disappointed with the organization. You just don't give them your dollars.
Yep.
That's always
see how quick.
You're right. It's the only way they'll ever listen.
That's right.
Is if you cut money supply off.
That's right.
Get a comment here from Johnny Max says this general manager has no sense of reality and what this team needs. By Malkin bringing Lou back, knowing how shitty he treats the fan base tells me how much of a piece of shit Malkin is. Gross is a complete ham. He's a wuss. Oh.
Look, don't be so hard on Andrew Gross. He has a job. He has a job to do.
Exactly.
Okay, and this is. I feel bad for the people that have to cover him.
Yes.
This is what they have to do to keep their jobs, or he'll have them blackballed.
Yep.
So what are you getting mad at these people for? They're just trying to do their job to the best of their ability under the circumstances that they face.
Yep. The only guy who can get away with asking tough questions, though, if he wanted to, is Gross. Because he writes for Newsday, and that's the hometown newspaper. If he blackballs Gross, Gross could skewer him in the press every single day. They'd be kissing his butt to get him to come back. Absolutely kissing his butt. If they pulled my press pass because I said, hey, I started asking some tough questions. He didn't like it. He pulled my press pass. What does it say about the team? What does it say about the organization? Oh my God. You do an article like that every day for a couple of weeks, they'll be begging don't go to games. You do something like that.
I've seen it happen.
Absolutely. That's what he needs to do.
I remember there were points in times like with the Mike and the Mad Dog show where they had issues with the Jets, if you remember that.
Yeah.
And the Jets wouldn't come on the freaking show, and the battles that went back and forth between them because they were cutting them off of any information. Usually the media can win out on that if they really want to.
That's right. If they want to.
I tell you. And could you imagine something like that? It never would, but like I don't blame Gross and the people for having to like walk on eggshells around Lou. Because
or he would have been good when the guy asked, and I don't even know who asked the question. Hey, bring somebody else from outside the organization, and he didn't answer it. He did that roundabout 5 centers, 3. He should have walked up and says, "Here, can you just read what I wrote? Maybe you didn't. Maybe you're having not a cognizant thing. Maybe you're not understanding the words I said. Maybe you can read them and then answer the question. Can you try that?"
That'd be a quick way to never get a press credential again.
I know, but it would be fun to watch.
Yeah, it would be fun to watch. Sure, we'd all get a little bit of a laugh, and that guy would be without a career.
He'd be a hero.
Yeah,
He'd
Yeah.
get a job somewhere else. He'd get a job somewhere else for doing that.
He absolutely would.
he'd have a tweet in his or her inbox immediately saying, "When can we get you on the show?"
That's right. Absolutely.
Oh man, the people must revolt now, says
Yes!
Johnny Mac. George P said, "Personal, their contracts show up on Cap Friendly."
No, I think he's
Not
talking about.
not the general
Not the
manager.
owners.
He's
Yeah.
talking about GMs. GMs.
Yeah. Gungun says, "How great would it have been if one of the reporters asked Lou, do you even want to be here at this press conference?" That would be
That's a
fucking
great question.
He would have smiled.
time.
He would have smiled and chuckled. He absolutely would have smiled and chuckled, and he wouldn't have answered. That's a serious question.
No,
He
you
was
know
just-
what? I believe he would have answered that, because when he did the meet and greet 2 years ago on the horrific season we had, he actually looked up at the people that were there in the media and said, "I really can't stand you guys in the media." He actually stated it during the meet and greet, so they know how he feels. He made it clear to them.
See, I don't know why they kiss his ass. Then I don't.
I
You
would.
hate me? Guess what? I'm because they have the power. They have the power of the pen. They really do. He forgets that. He forgets that.
Look, media has gotten people fired before out of their coaching and GM jobs. They're very
Yep.
capable of, if they really write enough bad things about you, getting a lot of the fan base against you. Media
Yep.
can turn the fan base against you. Absolutely.
What the hell does Andrew Gross seriously need a press? Like, you could write about the team. It'd be tough if you don't have access to the players. Well, for post-game pressers, everything like that, you just go ahead and watch that. Go ahead and discern the information. That's all public info. Could
Have
you
you ever met
imagine-
Andrew Gross, either one of you?
No, I know you have, and you say he's a great guy.
I
He's
have,
nice.
and he's the nicest, one of the nicest guys I ever met. He's a sweetheart of a person, unbelievably respectful guy. So maybe it's just not in him.
We got to put that dog in him. JP said, "I'm sorry, but if you're investing in Islander season tickets, you're plain smoking crack, period. Sorry, guys.
I guess I am.
Put the crack pipe down, Coach Tommy B. No more Islander season tickets."
I do love the team, everybody. I love it with all my heart. I've been since I was a little tiny boy, and it's, I like the players so much, no matter what the other people do, because hockey players are really special people. They really are. They're
the nicest
so much.
athletes.
Yeah, they just are. So it's hard for me to let it. I mean, one day I'm gonna have to let it go anyway, because this life forces you to do that. But I truly do support the team and love the team, even if I disagree with things and I tell you how I feel about Lou or a coach or whatever, or a certain player if I don't like one. I just feel I owe you honesty.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you this too. The people are great. The fan base is great to interact with too. Islander fans are great, even if they disagree with you. There, you get the little trolls online, or it's just kind of like, okay, if we were talking in person, you'd be singing a much different tune. We'd be getting along about we'd be agreeing on everything, because really we're splitting hairs on the differences of what we say. We all come from the same exact thought process, but just a little bit of a different approach how to fix it. We're also similar.
Some of those fans suck.
I think of the scene from Major League with the two guys in the bar, and the one guy's like, some steel worker, and the other guy's some weird guy dressed all freaky and everything, and they can't stand each other, but they win that freaking game, and all of a sudden they're hugging and celebrating. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would love to actually see one day, because if we ever won a cup, this entire fan base would be so fun to be with on that day. It would be incredible.
Yeah, and I would love eating a big old crow sandwich or being completely wrong and we win a cup, because I'm like, fuck it, we finally did it.
Yeah, definitely.
We won a cup. Kelly D said Lou's not going anywhere. Yep. Johnny Mac says here, Lou thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Actually, he's the dumbest guy in hockey.
Oh,
he's not the dumbest guy in hockey, by the way. He actually knows exactly what he's doing. He's 81. He's not interested in even any type of trying to rebuild a team. He's trying to win with whatever he actually has right now, because he's got nothing else to do.
That's true.
Don't hire. I'm not age biased. Don't hire people that old to do these jobs, because they've only got one thing on their mind.
The game has changed since he was successful.
That's
period.
when your age impacts your performance, because at 81 years old, you're more concerned with the immediate results. You no longer become a steward, not only for the team's current success, but the team's future. You completely turn a blind eye to the team's future because it's not going to affect you. It's just human nature. And when you are not paying attention to one, that's an integral part of the team, right? If you're not winning Stanley Cups, you also have to be somewhat cognizant of what the future success looks like too. When you completely turn a blind eye to that and ignore that, you do a disservice to the fan base and a disservice toward the organization and the future fans is what it is. He's the oldest general manager in the history of the sport.
Okay. And do you know whose fault that actually really is?
Ownership.
Thank you. It's ownership. They let
them
do it.
Yep. Ownership puts them in charge. It's that simple. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he's totally out of touch here. Tim J says his smile says, "I'm not leaving. Suffer, you suckers," which are the Islander fans. Like how he broke it down with the parentheses. Who are the suckers? Us, the Islander fans. Good gracious. We need to do a billboard. Oh, I'll kick you out a few $100. F this asshole. This is our team, Lou. So fuck you. Oh man. Yeah, I guess I've just kind of accepted that it's going to be more pain. It sucks, right?
Here's the thing: we could have started the transition 2 years ago, like I suggested, instead
Even
of signing
this year.
guys back.
This year was the worst.
This year was
no
the
brainer.
end, though. This year was the end to make a transition. We're way past that now. There is no transition anymore. There is none.
When Trotz left, they should have just done it because they had a legitimate reason to do it. Once Barry Trotz left, they could have said, "All right, this year is over. We can transition right now." It was there for them. It was literally put on a platter for them to do it. And they said no, and he said
no. Yep. Yeah. Frank K says 5 to 7 years of dark days ahead. Going to be a lot of misery. Be ready for Chris to take over. It's coming. Thompson is going to be the next coach as well. The buddy system is in place. Holy shit! Wouldn't that just be awful?
Frank,
I don't.
Go to Florida, Frank. That's not actually going to happen to that extent. Go to Florida, Frank. Your school year's almost over. Take your trip to Florida. Come back. You'll feel better.
Wow. Frank, you can continue to live where you live. Tommy can tell you to leave on his own show, but for our show, we love you here.
I know Frank well. I know exactly. He's doing his summer trip after his teaching, and he goes away for like a month, 6 weeks to Florida and gets out of New York, which is pretty smart, if you ask me.
That is. Got a comment here from David D saying Lou does not need to make any changes because he's not pressured until it affects the selling of season tickets. So I suggest a boycott. Yeah, if you're on the fence, do some serious thinking about if you want to go ahead and support the product and support the future and support currently what we're rolling out there. That's the only thing that determines, right, whether who stays in charge, who the general manager is, things like that, is the amount of sales. These guys are businessmen, and the only way you can make your voice heard is by not putting money in their pockets. And then they realize saying, uh-oh, this isn't working. Let's change the path.
Well, here's what they're doing to the fan base now. And I think it's despicable. They now ask you to renew basically in the middle of February. All right. So they're trying to get you to renew like 2 months before the season's even over. And then they tell you that if you don't renew when we make the playoffs, you don't get season ticket pricing for your playoff tickets, which is, I signed up for the season. If I decide to leave, I should still get my playoff tickets at the pricing I'm supposed to get. That's what they did to the fan base.
You know what it would do?
Never buy it.
You know what it would do for me? I'm never going back in that arena.
That's the type of reaction I'd have. If I went to something, I'd say, I'm never going to fucking support this team. Absolutely not. If I've gone ahead and paid my season ticket, my due, and you're not going to allow me to get the cheaper price for the postseason, even though I've paid for that because you want to go ahead and try to coax extra season ticket sales early because you know that nothing's going to hey, we're doing around February. Coincidentally, that happens to coincide right with the trade deadline where Lou is the most active. It's like he's coming out of hibernation, time to make all the moves right at the trade deadline. This is why you should support it. And now all of a sudden,
does that sound like a Lou policy to you? Because I'm trying to figure out who it is that put this policy in this season. Is it sound? Do you think this is Lou?
I don't know I don't think that's a Lou. That's we need to make sure that we make the money on this.
I think that's ownership. I think
that's whoever is in charge of the season tickets, and they have to probably get clearance from other people. But I'm sure they've talked with others about that and are like, "What's the plan? What's the plan? Are we going to make a lot of moves this offseason? Are we going to make the moves at the trade deadline? We're making them at the deadline.
If as a season ticket holder myself, I can tell you that there's a couple of turnoffs going on. That's a big turnoff. That really upset me that they did that. And then this is the second year in a row now as an Islander fan that I only get one home game at UBS against the Rangers, 2 years in a row, because they have that Stadium Series game going to New Jersey.
Oh,
and honestly, who the hell, if you live in Long Island on Sunday, wants to drive to MetLife in the middle of the winter to freeze their ass off, to sit 2 hours at the George Washington Bridge in Sunday traffic coming home when you got to work the next day? Who the heck wants to do that? How are we the home team? How did the Islanders even accept that as being the home team? I said, no, thank you. I don't want the Stadium Series game.
Because the Islanders are the little brother to the Rangers.
And I get that they are, but I would have been like, if I'm going, then put the game in Citi Field.
Yeah, they could have put it at Citi Field.
Sure. Yep. The team didn't get the job done. Can't blame Lou. No, Kelly. Lou deserves all the blame.
All
the blame is on Lou.
All on Lou. This team is Lou's team. He said it at that meet and greet. It's my team. I make every decision. I run this team. That was the last meet and greet. So you can own it, Lou.
Maybe here should have been a question.
He's been here for what, 5 full years, Lou Lamoriello. 6 off seasons now? 5 full seasons.
Yep.
He fired he fired Barry Trotz, right? He makes
yes and no on that. I mean, that was really to really get deep into the Barry Trotz thing real quick. Barry signed his 5-year deal and also told the Islanders that he wanted an opportunity to go into upper management with the team when his 5-year deal was done. As you see that he's took in Nashville. The Islanders told him, we will consider it if Lou walks away in 5. Remember, Lou kept telling everybody, I'm 5 and done. When my contract's over, I'm leaving. So Trotz went in there believing he would take over for Lou Lamoriello. So when he found out that wasn't going to happen, boom. That's why.
I find it funny that you hear Barry Trotz talk in Nashville, and he's talking about getting young. He wants a young, fast, hungry team. Young players.
I think Barry Trotz is refreshing to listen to. He was when he was a head coach, and he is as a GM.
So do I.
And again, like we were joking around. It sounds like the honeymoon stage, but I'm like, damn, this Barry Trotz sounds like a fantastic GM. How can we sign up for honeymoon Barry Trotz right now? I'm all in. I'm enamored with him. You know, it's early yet.
I listen to Lamoriello, then you listen to Trotz. It's like, ugh, back to the doldrums.
Personable guy, has fun with everybody, enjoys it. You know that's somebody you want to be around.
Yep.
I mean, he had to go at the end of last year. I think it had played out, so I didn't have a problem with it. But as we said right there, I said anything that happens from the team from here on out is not on Barry Trotz. It's all on Lou Lamoriello.
And I bet you Trotz turns Nashville into a very good team.
Yeah. Maybe he'll take Josh Bailey.
I'm hoping maybe he will.
Maybe trade for Pajot. He said he needed some culture guys.
What's up, John V? Got to hear a comment. Can blame Lou if he's unable to get the players that he's needed. We got here Rich Rosenkrantz says here, I'd like to discuss what I anticipate being an issue this year. This will become Horvat's team. Barzal will eventually become frustrated. I truly don't believe he'll become content being a winger. He'll be content being a winger.
I think this is Barzal's team now.
Absolutely is Pat Barzal's team.
I mean, honestly, you listen to Barzal, he's the only guy who you hear him at the end of the season presser, then like, that guy wants to win. Everybody else, they don't care. They're just happy, fat, dumb, and happy, very content. Oh, yeah, it didn't work for us. Maybe next year. Where Barzal's like, yeah, no.
I bet he's kicking himself today. He's saying, man, if we wouldn't have pushed for the winger in January, I could have the brick account on my team right now.
Or maybe saying, gosh, I wish I would not have signed that extension and I'd be a UFA this offseason.
He loves it in Long Island. So I think as far as where he wanted to live, people come here and they fall in love with living here. The problem with free agents is they don't know enough about what it's like to live here. So when players start to come here and live here, that's why a lot of these players are staying now, because they love the life. You know,
he was voted VP of the cul-de-sac crew as well. So he was immediately thrust into a spot to where he had some leadership. And he said, great, man, I'm VP of the cul-de-sac crew. Johnny Mack says, does he even realize that the NHL has a hard salary cap? He has $6.1 million in cap space, but absolutely every player that's a restricted free agent or an unrestricted free agent, he wants back. So the only way he's going to be able to do that, we're going to have to give up assets to get rid of Josh Bailey. And now we're going to have cap space to sign back the same players we had on last year's team and say,
That wasn't good enough.
the same roster.
-1. -1. Because we can't fit them all in, so it's -1.
Yep. And maybe Zach Parise retires, so who knows? Grumpy likes hearing himself talk. Yeesh, says Dan.
Okay. I love hearing myself talk. Don't like it. I love it. Get it. If you're going to say it, get it right.
There it is. We've got here. What about adjusting the coach? It needs to be adapting in the game. Needs better game time decisions, perhaps.
Okay. Kelly D, bottom line, players aren't good enough. Period. End of sentence, end of story. Team's not good enough. That's all you need to know. That's all on the GM. All these contracts that have been signed, all because of the current general manager. Every single one.
Let me say this. He made some mistakes like any head coach will make during a season. They all do, by the way. He made some, but let me tell you something. He took a team that was dead in the water without Matt Barzal.
Yep.
And got them into the playoffs. And if you don't give him credit for that, then you just don't want to like him.
Yep. Or you're just listening too much to what everybody else is saying out there. And just like, oh, hey, he did it poorly. I didn't like the fact that he did this. I didn't like the fact that, he did. Man, people will find I didn't like the fact that he mixed all the lines up. I didn't like the fact that he chose this person out there or that person out there. The same shit we complain with Trotz about. And here's the thing. Like Grumpy and I have talked about it. I think the room had unfortunately just tuned Barry Trotz out. I don't think a lot of the blame and onus should go on him when his time here. That's for certain.
I think part of the tuning out, though, is something that people don't look in depth enough to. I think when a team senses friction between the general manager and the coach,
who do we listen to?
That will cause that problem. And I think that friction was there.
Yep. Who should we listen to? Who's the guy? Who's the one we're actually listening to?
Who's signing my paycheck?
There you go.
Barzal will want out, says Johnny Mack. Maybe already has requested a move. Watching this degenerate. Talking about
degenerate. Watching this
degenerate. Oh yeah. And we don't have enough talent to beat the better teams. Lou has not done enough to improve our offense.
True.
Better pray that Oliver Wahlstrom breaks out this year.
Yep, that's about the only thing we've got. And
I have a
Mr.
feeling
McGee
that's not going to happen. I don't know why.
Trey Brock, get Horvat a winger and try to find somebody again for Barzal.
I would put Wahlstrom with Barzal and Horvat. That would be my number one line. Why do I want Horvat and Lee on the same line? That makes no freaking sense. Put Lee on the second unit with Nelson and Palmieri if you don't bring anybody back. Otherwise, dump him to the third line. But I would have Wahlstrom, up with Barzal and Horvat, and let's see if Wahlstrom can score a ton of goals. He can shoot. We all know it. Let's see if that works.
CJ, I'm just going to put like a few comments up here.
CJ's a red Lupin Power Ranger.
There it is, because we won't be able to get through all the comments, guys. I apologize.
Well, why don't you just go about doing little stars and I'll read the comments? How about that?
Grumpy, we are 2 hours and 45 minutes in with probably 600-700 comments to rifle through, Grumpy. I don't think we're going to be able to show as many comments as probably we would like, but I'm trying to do the best. We're going to cut off at 3 hours. Sorry. Hopefully, hey, I've enjoyed just talking to Coach Tommy B, having him on and talking. We've got to have him on more often. I say that all the time, but we've got to have Coach Tommy B on more often. And we will read. We always read the comments afterwards. So trust me, we'll see what you guys are saying. We'll address that next show. But there'll be no show this Saturday, as I mentioned before. But CJ, Grumpy Old Man, has a comment for you to read.
If our owners watch this interview and don't do poop, then that proves that they're ignorant and don't care about us fans, our team, competing and winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Got a comment here. I'm trying to see. Freedom Fund Adventure says, seriously, I love and respect elderly people, and I try to be patient and understanding towards them, unlike TJ. However, if this old BS artist came in for a job interview, there's no way he gets hired. Oh,
True.
I'm getting thrown into the old because I harassed the grumpy old man. Is that why?
That is exactly what it is. Your nasty attitude.
My father always taught me to respect my elders, and I do that
That's
to
right.
this day. But he is running my hockey team, our hockey team. And I have a right, when the hockey team's not performing because of him, to complain, because I'm not looking at his age and saying, I'm holding him accountable for what he's doing. That's not because of his age.
Mm-hmm.
I want to win a Stanley Cup. You want to win a Stanley Cup. You want to win a Stanley Cup, and so do all of you. That's what I want.
Yep.
That's what Oprah would be saying. You get a Stanley Cup. You get a Stanley Cup. Freedom Fun Adventure says, TJ, when Grumpy is out getting dragged around the cul-de-sac by the dog, is he bragging to all the ladies about all the 5-star ratings? Islanders are no fun to watch. I believe ticket sales will suffer. I'll tell you what, if some ticket rep came to me and said I needed to re-sign up for season tickets in February to get playoff tickets at the price that I would have said, no, thank you. Absolutely no, thank you.
I almost
Matter of fact, cancel my season subscription for next year right now. That's what I would.
I was so pissed.
I would have absolutely done that. I mean, how many games a year do you go to, Tommy?
At the 41 home games a year, I usually I'll go to 27, 28 basically out of the 41, and I only go to one preseason because I'm done with that stuff. I go to the Island Ranger preseason game because that's a fun game. There's usually a lot of fights. It's kind of old school where you step back for that game. But that other preseason games, I don't want to bother with them. And it's not like going to the Coliseum anymore either. Coliseum was easier to get to, more accessible, honestly, and a lot more fun pregame. UBS is a great experience to watch a game in. When you get there and watch the game, I give it high praise. But it's also a little bit more complicated with parking and getting to the games and getting home. So I do a little bit less now.
Do you sell the other tickets?
Yeah, or family. If I, like my nephew wants to go, he take it. Or if Andrea asks me to give me a couple sets for her kids or something, But in general, yeah, I'll sell a few, and I sell them at the base price I pay them for. And it's the Islander fans.
I like this, Harry saying again, treating the fans like ignorant fools. I think is what he meant to say.
Ignorant goods.
I think fools probably made more sense. Brian J says here, do you guys think everything that at Lou's house is appliance and lighting wise is run by the clapper?
Clap on, clap off, clap on, the clapper.
Do you know what a clapper is, TJ?
I remember commercials like where you, but it was really young, where it was like, I guess it was popular, but I was like, yeah, it's like,
but if you're really old, I mean, you got to clap kind of loud for that, don't you? It's got to be tough. It's not working. You got to really smack that stuff.
Yeah, I got one from my father once. He actually had to slap pretty loud.
The delusional Lamanites.
Yes.
John A says here, the definition of insanity is running back the same Islanders roster over and over and over, expecting different results.
There you go. It's
very simple and accurate statement.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh, I forgot. We had a few more memes that Drew had sent us that are going to be funny, Grumpy. They're old pictures here. Let me get this pulled up for us. Okay. Here we go. Boop. Pop that up on the screen. Okay. Let's watch here. It says, say the line, Lou. I believe in this core group. And everybody starts busting out laughing. This is why I'm here, face. Oof. And Lou must be having flashbacks on the Vietnam War with this type of face. And we got another one. On the left is Lou from 5 years ago. On the right is Lou yesterday.
Yeah, it's like he's really deteriorated.
You see it.
Getting older.
Look at the throat. Look at the face caving in. Yep.
He's
very
done.
Older. Like, here's the thing. It's not just the age is right, but it's like I will say this. At one point, you should think about, is a guy who's 81 years old going to be 82 at the start of next year? Is he concerned at all about the future of our team?
No.
Of course he isn't. He has no reason to be.
Yep.
That's
And
why I don't
has he-
want him.
Has he ever entertained the thought? Because I asked Stefan this yesterday. I said, has anybody ever asked Lou if he's ever entertained the thought that maybe this team is flawed and needs to go through a process of building a team that is going to be better constructed to win a Stanley Cup? Has he ever thought maybe the team could be flawed? I'm going to entertain that idea maybe as a possibility. He's like, no, nobody's going to ask me that question.
Oh,
He said everybody has to get better. Maybe he's got some fairy dust or something. Magical dust is going to make everybody better. Maybe that's his plan.
That could be it.
I would. I mean, I'm sure he has interviews with the ownership group at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Isn't any of them saying, dude, this team is not any better. What are you going to do to fix it? And if he said something, going to bring the same guys back, I believe, dude, that ain't worked. I've been at the end of the day, it falls on ownership as well.
Sure.
I mean, you have to make changes.
You've got Malkin off in London doing his real estate, watching his soccer games because he loves soccer. He loves, I should say, European football. And you've got Ledecky here, whose his object is to appeal to the fans and figure out a way to keep them from selling this, from giving up their season tickets. They're not even thinking on the plane of the team. Sometimes they're thinking on the plane of, how do we keep our investment going right now and offering the fans things that'll keep them happy while the team is, a middle of the road team. We're not a bad team, not a good team.
We're middle of the pack.
Middle of the road.
We're on the hamster wheel to mediocrity. That's all we are.
Oh, there
You
it
can
is.
stay there a long time if you want.
Yep.
A long time.
Yep.
And I'm looking through, man. I'm seeing some comments from faces I haven't seen comments from in a long while here.
Well, let's give him some run. What do you think?
Okay, Tim Ward, and I like to comment. I like to go ahead and highlight Tim. I guess it's like out of love hate. Tim never has anything kind to say about myself. That's always the truth. He says, if TJ says, sure, one more time, I will scream, is what he says.
You know what Tim does? He talks shit to you, but he's got the cute little baby in the picture, so you can't really get too mad at him.
Exactly, right? He's got the cute kid in there. What are you going to do? You're going to call
It's
Tim?
like Lou Lamoriello. He's kind of distracting from the meanness that he's presenting to you by putting up the little baby picture. Oh,
The swamp box,
here's Lou
baby.
right here. This is Lou sent this in. Buzzy the Beaky the Buzzer. There he is. Reporters, can you answer my question, Lou? Beaky the Buzzer, Lou. Nope.
What do you guys think of Mayfield? Says Brian. Yeah,
he should leave. He should leave.
if I'm him,
I think we should go.
Zero
star review. No star. What
review.
the hell?
Hit the thumbs up. Yeah, there it is. There. I want you to decide. Says here the fourth line should not be immovable. He needs to be fluid. It needs to be fluid to get younger players some minutes too.
There you go.
Yep. Keep Salo. Trade Aho.
Neither one of them has any trade value right now.
Ishikov, without a doubt, is the most talented player in the minors.
Yes, he is. Jim. Absolutely.
He doesn't fit the style they play though.
No.
That's true.
Salo in a fourth to dump that bum Bailey. Are you guys clearing? Don't
the drug screen your tests.
Did I not say that I would run around offering that first to see if I can get anybody to bite? If I get someone to bite, and you got to remember something, sure. Bailey's cap hit is 5, but his salary is 3.5.
Yep.
So to a team that's looking to get to the cap floor, getting a guy that you're paying a cheaper amount to get to the cap number to get to the floor is a little more enticing, don't you think?
I think so. Here's the thing too. It depends on what the going rate is this offseason. It changes from offseason to offseason. Yeah. I'm going to say you're probably going to have to give up a second round pick in some capacity.
I think at the end of the day, probably, but I'm going to try that first.
Sure.
And if somebody takes it, then they take it. If not, I'm not giving up this year's second. You can have next year's second to take him. I can't give up. I have to have one pick in this draft that I can produce a player out of.
They also might have been saying that's way too much to give up to get rid of Bailey. We don't know.
No, I don't know.
There was no context to it.
We're talking about a player that has no future here because they don't want to give him one. Mm-hmm. And a 4th round pick, you got about a 3% chance of hitting on that pick.
We've got here Mookie Betzer says here, can you play the clip where he calls Chris one of the greatest hockey minds? Oh God, that shit it's like vomit inducing. The Wiki 50 Cal says, "What's going on, guys? What's going on here?
What's going on?
Good luck." Malika says, "Yeah, we're gonna need a lot of good luck. That's for certain, Malika. We'll need a lot of good luck here as Islander fans.
Good luck." That was like Marco from Tripolia. Good luck.
Been watching
Good
for
luck.
30 years. Have not seen a goalie this good in the organization ever.
TJ, do you know what movie Marco from Tripolia was in?
No, what the? You asking movie questions again?
Taken.
What's up?
Taken.
How are you, Harry? Okay, is that the one from with Liam Neeson?
Yes.
I don't really remember that movie that well. Just remember a little.
Oh man, I tell you what. Every time that movie's on, I watch it. Every single time it's on, I watch it.
I got to ask you about something on that comment with Matthew saying that he's never seen a goalie as talented as Sorokin over the last 30 years. Who would be the second most talented goalie you've ever seen in the Islanders organization?
Well, my span is much shorter. It'd be Bobby Lou, right? Even when he was young like that, but probably for me, I think he's the second best goalie to wear the Islander colors.
Yes, I agree.
Luongo.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, I think Luongo is better than Sorokin because he's bigger.
A longer career at this point. We might, 10 years from now, Sorokin does all these amazing things. We probably might be speaking differently.
Sure.
But here's the thing. It's not Billy Smith.
No, it's not. He was a good money goalie.
Yes.
But he wasn't even the number one goalie on the team until the cup years. I don't think people realize that. Chico was number one. I always liked Chico better than Billy Smith. Always. He was a better goalie.
Yeah.
And if the NHL pundits, if the NHL pundits, they all laugh at the Islanders, then how exactly did Lou Lamoriello bring credibility back to the Islanders?
We were an afterthought before that. We weren't even talked about.
We were a bottom feeder franchise. Lou gets credit for bringing that respectability back. He deserves it. He absolutely does.
And yes, answer your question. Milo Brunny says, just to check, but speaking of Robin Lehner, should Vegas win, does he get a ring too? He's still in there. Is he still in the organization? Yes, he would.
He gets a ring.
Yep, he's injured, but he would get a ring. So I guess, you know what? I don't mind Vegas.
Does that ring, does he have to sell the ring to pay off his creditors after buying the snake farm? That's
Maybe. Rick Roma says, I've heard that rumor as well that Lou is setting up a chair to watch his fired employees leave the building. It might be true. I can't.
Wow.
I can't refuse to believe that.
Please do not be true. That is just.
Something I really want to find out if that is true.
So do I.
Because I absolutely want to find out that's true. Or if anyone else, I'd never heard that before.
I've never heard that either.
Came out in an article on the end of Lamoriello's reign in New Jersey, published by New Jersey News.
Wow.
If that really happened, I hope they did the same thing to him when they kicked his ass out of New Jersey.
Wow.
True said, TJ's talking about splitting hairs as if his hairline isn't already splitting hairs, you bastard! Oh, good gracious. Nuggets win game 3, says Greg Frost here.
Nice.
Let's see here. Oh, David Sean McDonald says, we're effed. When does Lou's vision start to become hallucinations?
It already has.
That's a good question, though. When does finally, let's say we are mediocre again next season? Because this year we were mediocre. We were completely middle of the pack in every sense of it.
Except for goaltending. Except for goaltending.
I mean, end result, because we were less than mediocre goal scoring and power play, special teams, etc. But in the end, we're a mediocre team. Let's say we're mediocre and near thereabout or slightly above average this next year. After 3 years of disappointment, I'd say, because again, he reaffirmed the goal is to be in the Stanley Cup Finals, where teams like the Florida Panthers and teams like Vegas are currently. Let's say we have another mediocre season. When do things start to sour on Lou Lamoriello, if they do?
You want to go with that one first, and I'll answer it together?
It's already soured for me. But if you're talking about the ownership, I think next year, if they don't make the playoffs, he's gone. I think bare minimum, Islanders have to make the playoffs next year for him to keep his job.
Yeah.
Really?
I think that if the Islanders don't win a round next year, Lambert is fired and Lou is at least not the general manager anymore. That's how I would put it.
I don't think we make playoffs next year. I just don't.
Anything could happen. Anything could happen.
I think we have Sorokin, and if Horvat and Barzell click, and like I said, we actually get a real power play coach. You know, and remember, you have some upside guys with Dobson who can definitely grow more, and Romanov who can grow more, and Bolduc, who I like. I don't know if you guys like Bolduc. I like Bolduc.
I do. I think he's going to be talented.
I think
he's going to be talented one day.
I think they're good enough to get in. I don't know if they're good enough to go anywhere once they get in, but I think they're still good enough to get in.
Now, I will say this. Phil actually had kind of not to bring Phil back up again, but he did say that he agrees Lou Lamoriello has lost his mind. Now, he happened
That's
to be
coming from Phil, who has absolutely lost his mind.
Good gracious. But he does agree that Lou has lost his mind. Now, I'll show you the clip that he was talking about, grumpy old man. Crap, I guess I got to retweet that. Give me a sec here. I'll show you the clip. Now, this is part of that same long this is part of that same long address to the media and the fans that made Phil said that he thinks Lou Lamoriello has lost his mind. I'll let you listen to it. And there's going to be some fans who like this and thinking that Lou's lost his mind.
All right, we can't hear anything.
All righty, Grumpy. Time to turn your listening ears on, Grumpy, because this is. Oh, I'm sorry. Gotcha. Shit.
We couldn't hear anything. Why don't you turn on your activate the fucking thing so we can hear it?
I thought that was the joke.
Oh, you can. Okay. I thought I could hear it, but I was like, maybe I'm not. I didn't have it put up on screen, and maybe that affected how loud it came through. Hold on.
No,
Grumpy.
Dexter, dumbass, you didn't put it up.
Okay, I'm gonna try it
You
now
are
again.
attacking me for your failure again.
All right, we're gonna try it again. Hold on.
Too much criticism has been of Dobson. Look at his point production. You know, very similar to last year. And I think that we put a lot of high expectations on him. Maybe I did in signing him to a contract. But it's your second year, your sophomore year, so to speak. And people look at him and give him a little more attention. I think I've spent some time with him postseason, as recent as today. And, you know, he's in a great mindset. He knows what he can do to be better and will do that. And I have high expectations for him. I think he's going to be one of your elite scorers and defensemen in this league before his career is over.
So that is what's causing Phil now to say that he thinks Lou's lost his mind. Perhaps he's speaking positively of Noah Dobson. Some Noah Dobson hate, I tell you. Let me ask you that, Coach Tommy B. But last topic of today. We all agree on Sorokin. Anybody who's saying trade Sorokin's lost their damn mind. Now, what are your thoughts on Noah Dobson? I'm interested. You know, you're level-headed, Coach Tommy B. Some of these other people.
No way do you trade Noah Dobson. I should never say never on anything, because if you get offered something so good, then that's one thing. If you get offered such an overvalue on the player, then of course you make the move. But in general, Noah Dobson is part of the future of this team.
Yeah,
and his upside, he's got a lot of upside. He's already shown us when he's on his game how he can take control of a game.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of players can't do that. So you have to work with him. And I am one who stated for the last 2 years that I think he needs to put a little bit more weight on and a little more muscle, because I want to see him, you know, when you're behind the net or in front of it, I do want you to play a little more physical. But the guy's got upside of a legitimate top number one defenseman on your team. I'm not trading that.
Yeah.
And TJ, you know, talk about putting weight on. TJ and I know someone who saw him recently and said he is really rail thin.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's surprised that he says he's super thin.
The guy we know is unbelievably skinny too. So yeah, Noah Dobson can afford to pack on a few pounds there. So that's all we'll say on that one. And they're not wrong. Gigi just said, sure. Oh my God. Okay. So I guess I've been saying that a lot today. Dexter dumbass. David's laughing over here. Boy, it's a good thing they're not in the same room. Wow. Oh man. Yeah, I was about to say Dobson is untouchable for me as well, guys. And then B40. I feel like we try to get at least one comment from everybody in there. And if I missed a comment and you've commented, and I apologize. I just try to spread it around, guys. The younger part of the fan base will never boycott, especially a certain group of attention seekers. I cannot stand. What is BOA?
Bank of America?
BOA is Blue and Orange Army group that does Section 329 at UBS Arena and at the College. They've been around for a long time.
Okay.
You can tell where I live, can't you?
I was like, I knew it wasn't that. I knew it wasn't that. I'm like, he's talking hockey right now.
Okay, but I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and BOA down here is Bank of America. I mean, that's, whenever it's in a newspaper article, that's what BOA is. So sorry.
Oh man. But
My bad.
yeah. So the Blue and Orange Army, B40's not a fan of the Blue and Orange Army. Well, here's the thing. There are people who are just going to support the team and support the players. And, I think it's valiant to say, no matter what, we're going to be here to support the team. We're going to be here to support the people who put on the jersey. We're going to be here to support. I don't dislike the people that do that. I don't think there's like, oh, they're lost or confused. I think that's just the way they go ahead and support it. I think you could support the team and also criticize areas where there's need of improvement, but the team's in desperate need of change. Doesn't look like we're going to get that change, unfortunately, but
not till he's gone.
That's
why you got to move.
With Grump, it's not going to happen until he is no longer controlling the player moves.
And this team is going to be we'll still have Barzell and Horvat and Dobson and Sorokin and a couple other pieces, but the rest of the team is going to be just
barren,
bargain basement free agent fill-ins until we can draft young players and come up and play in the organization. That's what it's going to end up coming down to.
You know what's sad? That the biggest hope I have for this offseason, other than the one thing that I must have is Soroka's extension, is if we can find another Hudson Fasching during this offseason.
Yeah,
it's true, but isn't that sad to think of? Where it's like that's a little shining light and a little bit of hope is maybe we could find another guy like Hudson Fasching.
That's Fredo. Fredo can do that. He's brilliant at that.
In all my years as an Islander fan, and you know it too, we have never owned free agency day, not ever. And I said it last year on my show when I said it's just the fact that if we go out and sign a top free agent like Goudreau, we actually own free agency day for the first time. And the value to the fan base and how it makes you feel good about that and feel like we're actually trying to win a cup, it's very valuable. And eventually we have to try and win a free agency day. It's kind of important.
Our biggest free agent signing of all time, name-wise, is Andrew Ladd.
Yes.
Yep. I think, the performance-wise, you could say maybe it was Robin Leonard because he had the best performance. But name-wise, yes, I agree.
I say Mark Streit was the best signing
value-wise. But he was I'm not saying he was a nothing, but he wasn't a highly, we're in a, we're battling it out with other teams to sign Mark Streit. That wasn't the case.
Maybe Miroslav Satan would be another one.
Yeah. Miroslav
Did we trade for him?
No, we signed him.
Okay.
It was a shock. I remember I was shocked we actually got him. I was like, wow, we actually signed a pretty good player.
From Buffalo.
I was about to say Buffalo that was back during like the Brian Holzinger days for Buffalo and the Pekka and everything like that. Oh yeah, man. But guys, we're here a little over 3 hours today. Sorry we didn't get through every comment. We'll read them over. Trust me, we will at the end of the show. We always do. But Coach Tommy B, number one, it was too long in between meetings, in between shows, and I'll definitely take blame for that. Not being on the stick with things. But number one, thank you for coming on. As always, we always love to have you on. But Coach Tommy B, I want to hear your thoughts of what you expect this off season and a little bit of a sign off, and just a reminder where we could find your show, what day it's on, and where we find it.
First off, thank you for having me on the show, TJ and Grump. Great. I really had a great time. I always have a great time I do the show with you guys. Even when we disagree, it's fun, and honestly, it's very intellectual, I think, for the fan base to listen to. I really do. As far as what I expect from next season, as I said, I expect this basically to be the same team minus somebody. Whether it's Engvall, Mayfield, maybe could it be minus two because Parisi wouldn't make any money, so I don't think it would affect us that much in the cap.
No.
But it's going to be a little different, and they may have to actually rely a little bit here and there on a player or two from Bridgeport when injuries kick in. And that's when your Simon Holmstrom kicks in, possibly your Ishnikov. Boulder could play a bigger role this year with the team. The key for us, honestly, is to make sure we sign Ilya Sorokin. That's the key to me. It has to get done. If it doesn't get done, take my season tickets because I'm done. And I mean that. If that doesn't get done, I'm done with my season tickets. That's my number one thing. He's the best thing that's happened to this team in a long time. So if you're going to go out this season, look, you never know miracles happen, but my expectation is playoffs and probably nothing more. That's what my expectation is for the team. I think they can make the playoffs. I think they have a decent chance at it. And the sad part of me saying that to you is my expectations should be greater than that. All of your expectations should be greater than that. We deserve better as Islander fans. We've been loyal. We deserve better.
Amen.
You can catch me again next Thursday night on, I believe that's June 15th. I'm going to do a Coach Baffi's Corner live from the Drive for Five, my personal page, and many of the other groups that I mentioned earlier. And I'll go over the Stanley Cup Finals and where we're at. I'll go over what to expect in the offseason. We'll talk about Lou's presser that we had so much fun with today. And maybe we'll talk about some great Josh Bailey moments from the past.
Ooh,
That should be-
yes.
Boy, that's-
That'll be next Thursday night. Thank you
that
so much
segment.
for having me on. To both of you, it's been great.
Is that segment going to be what, about 30 seconds long?
Oh, Grumpy. Come on.
I'll play it in slow motion.
Oh, man. Grumpy old man, what do you want to say before we wrap things up here today?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't. From TJ, the grumpy old man, and Coach Tommy Baffi. Remember, no podcast tomorrow on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show, or Saturday on the Islanders Never Say Die podcast because, well, TJ just can't manage to fit into his busy schedule. But we will be back Sunday for the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show, as well as next Wednesday on the Islanders Never Say Die podcast with potentially another guest.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and listening. Thanks, Coach Tommy B. Again, we always enjoy having you on. We'll have you on again, I'm sure, before the start of the regular season. Nice to get a little bit of an update from Lou Lamoriello, even though it was not any of the responses or answers we were looking for. Just nice for him to at least acknowledge the fan base's existence. So that was enjoyable. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in and listening to the show today. Thank you for the support. Thank you for all the comments. I know we didn't get a chance to go through all of them today, but we will be reading them afterwards. We always love and appreciate reading the comments. Thank you so much for your engagement. Thank you so much for your comments and thoughts throughout the podcast. Thank you, Coach Tommy B. Thank you, Grumpy Old Man.
My pleasure.